Chapter 3082. Not long after, more than 100 imperial emperors received the news and arrived at Zhongyu City. If it were anyone else, it would have been fine. However, Imperial Emperor Rocky Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai had come together. Even the realm lord of a super-large world did not dare to underestimate them. Moreover, most of the imperial emperors had never seen Araki Takashi before. This was a good opportunity to get to know him. Rumor has it that Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai have become Dao companions. It seems like it's true. This is the first time the two of them have appeared in the 3,000 realms. Moreover, it's at the time of the final battle between the dragons and the phoenixes. I wonder what their intentions are. How many people did they bring? It's said that there's only the two of them. There's no army following them. In that case, there shouldn't be any big movements. They might just be trying to befriend us. The imperial emperors had just arrived at Zhongyu City and were already secretly discussing. Among them, there were some imperial emperors who were calm, as if they were not surprised by the appearance of Imperial Emperor Rocky Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai. In the hall, more than 100 imperial emperors arrived one after another. This hall was grand and tall. It could accommodate tens of thousands of people. However, at this moment, only imperial emperors were qualified to enter this hall. When the Grotto Heaven Kings heard that the legendary Imperial Emperor Rocky Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai had arrived, they were all discussing excitedly. They were already considered experts of the upper realm. With a lifespan of 1,000,000 years, they could dominate a region in any realm and be conferred the title of king. However, here, they could only obediently guard outside the hall. The kings looked at the hall with a hint of envy and reverence in their eyes. This was a gathering of imperial emperors. The people in this hall were all people who stood at the peak of the upper realm. Some of them could cause a huge commotion in the 3,000 realms with just a stomp of their feet. In the hall, every imperial emperor expert who arrived greeted Wu Dao's true body and Daiyu. Wu Dao's true body and Daiyu did not stand up. They only nodded indifferently. This scene naturally attracted the dissatisfaction of many imperial emperors. Although the celestial emperors did not say anything, they were secretly criticizing him. Actually, it was not Wu Dao's original body and Daiyu's arrogance. Instead, they could not tell which of these sovereign emperors was controlled by Yin Sheng's curse and lost their minds. If they couldn't come to an agreement in a while, it would be hard to avoid a big fight. There was no need to get too close to them right now. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, fellow Taoist Shuedai, you two sure are extravagant. Realm Lord Wudong smiled and said in a strange tone. Other than the Wudong realm, which was a super realm, the Lord of the Blood realm, which was also a super realm, did not show any dissatisfaction. He remained expressionless from beginning to end. As for the imperial emperors from the higher realms and middle realms, they wouldn't say anything. May I know why fellow Taoist Araki Takashi has summoned all of us here? Realm Lord Wudong asked in a low voice. Wu Dao's true body didn't beat around the bush and said bluntly, "This battle between dragons and phoenixes can stop now." The hall suddenly fell into a short period of silence. With just one sentence, the atmosphere in the hall became solemn. Many imperial emperors exchanged glances with each other, and they couldn't believe their ears. For example, the Lord of the Blood realm and the Lord of the Poison realm were rather calm. Heh! After a long while, Realm Lord Wudong chuckled. His expression turned cold as he said, "So, fellow Taoist Araki Takashi wants to stand up for the dragons. However, I would like to ask something. The battle between dragons and phoenixes has lasted for thousands of years and swept through hundreds of realms. Countless living beings have died. Do you think you can stop it just because you say so?" "That's right." Wu Dao's true body nodded and said, "If I say stop, then it has to stop." "Why?" Realm Lord Wudong stood up and his aura surged. He stared at Wu Dao's true body and shouted, "Because I'm Araki Takashi." Wu Dao's true body said this sentence calmly, but it had an unquestionable power. Realm Lord Wudong's aura was actually suppressed by Wu Dao's true body's words and instantly reversed. "You." Realm Lord Wudong clenched his fists tightly. His heart was filled with anger and indignation, but he was speechless for a moment. "Realm Lord, Please calm down. At this moment, an imperial emperor of Wudong realm stood out and said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, it's not impossible to stop the war." Just as Realm Lord said, too many living beings have died in the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes over the years. Although the dragons have been forced to retreat and are trapped on an island, our realms have also suffered losses. Realm Lord Wudong's expression changed. He had never thought that Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi's seemingly absurd and domineering proposal to stop the war would be approved by the Imperial Emperor of Wudong Realm. Fengxiang, what did you say? Realm Lord Wudong's face was cold as he berated, "Realm Lord." Another peak Imperial Emperor of Wudong Realm stood out. His beard and hair were white, and he looked quite old. It seemed that his seniority in Wudong Realm was not low. "Uncle Huangyu, tell me," Realm Lord Wudong said. The old man from Wudong Realm said slowly, "Feng Xiang's words are not without reason." Realm Lord Wudong was stunned. This old man from Wudong Realm had always been in the pro-war faction when the Dragon World and Wudong Realm clashed. He advocated an eye for an eye and blood for blood. He was the oldest, but his hot-bloodedness had not disappeared. Why did Uncle Huangyu suddenly change so much that he actually agreed to stop the war? Emperor Huangyu said in a deep voice, "The dragons are trapped on an island and their vitality is greatly damaged. They are no longer the same as before. It's not impossible to let them live. With the current state of the dragons, who knows how many years it will take for them to rise again. There's no need for us to kill them all. More importantly, after the war stops, we can let our clansmen recuperate and deal with the huge changes that might happen next. That's the most important thing." Imperial Lord Huang Yu's words were reasonable and well-founded, but to Realm Lord Wudong, it was simply ridiculous. Up until now, there were even Imperial Emperors from Wudong Realm who had fallen in the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes. There was no room for negotiation between the two sides. Emperor Huangyu actually changed his previous state and suggested to let the dragons live. Emperor Araki Takashi was indeed powerful and could even be said to be terrifying. But just because of a sentence from Emperor Araki Takashi, the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes stopped? This was too childish. Uncle Huangyu was a peak Imperial Emperor. Could it be that he was really afraid of Emperor Araki Takashi? Realm Lord Wudong asked in disbelief, "Uncle Huangyu, let me ask you, if Wudong Realm falls into such a state, will the dragons let us live?" Realm Lord, I also agree with Uncle Huangyu's opinion. Without waiting for Emperor Huangyu to speak, another Imperial Emperor from Wudong Realm stood out. "I don't agree." There were also other Imperial Emperors from Wudong Realm who stood out to object. Wu Dao's original body had only said a few words. There was no conflict with Wudong Realm, but Wudong Realm had already quarreled with each other and did not give in to each other. Wu Dao's original body raised his eyebrows slightly and was a little surprised. But with a thought, he understood the reason and sneered secretly. Chapter 3083. Realm Lord Wudong looked at the many Imperial Emperors arguing under his command with a livid face. He couldn't hold it in any longer and shouted, "Enough!" Others had only said a few words, but his own people had already caused such a ruckus. Moreover, it was in front of others. Realm Lord Wudong said in a deep voice, "The battle between the dragons and the phoenixes is not only related to our Wudong realm. This time, hundreds of realms have come here, and there are more than 100 Imperial Emperors in this hall. This battle can't be stopped just because you want to. You have to ask for the opinions of the other fellow Taoists." As he spoke, Realm Lord Wudong looked at the Lord of the Blood World. Other than the Wudong realm, the Blood World was also a superworld. Moreover, it had always been the main battle faction, so its opinion was extremely important. Under everyone's gaze, the Lord of the Blood World slowly stood up and said in a low voice, "In my opinion, it's not impossible to stop the battle." The Lord of the Blood World's reaction was beyond the expectations of many Imperial Emperors. Realm Lord Wudong also looked at him in disbelief. The Imperial Emperors of the Wudong realm have already said the reason for stopping the battle. The Lord of the Blood World looked at Wu Dao's original body and nodded slightly. Moreover, this time, Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai came together. For the sake of the two fellow Taoists, my blood world is willing to take a step back. As another superworld, the blood world agreed to stop the battle. This had a significant impact on the direction of the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes. I agree too. The Lord of the Poison World said sinisterly and then closed his mouth. I agree to stop the battle. The Lord of the Tomb Realm said in a deep voice, previously, in the Torch Dragon domain, the Grotto Heaven Kings of the Tomb Realm suffered heavy losses. We can take this opportunity to recuperate. The Realm Lords of the Bone World, Black Crow World, Scorpio World, Lifeless World, and other worlds also stood out and expressed their agreement to stop the battle. The Imperial Emperors who wanted to continue the battle fell silent when they saw this scene. Even the absolute main force of the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes had chosen to withdraw. It was useless for them to persist. Only a few people mustered the courage to stand out and object. Realm Lord Wudong's expression was ugly. He had never expected that Emperor Araki Takashi's declaration of a ceasefire would lead to such a situation. Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi was indeed powerful, but was he capable of causing all the Imperial monarchs present to retreat just by relying on the Taoist name of Araki Takashi? Realm Lord Wudong was extremely disappointed. When the conflict between Dragon World and Wudong World first broke out, he urged both sides to communicate as much as possible or use other methods to resolve the conflict. However, many pro-war factions had emerged within the clan, and their voices were getting louder and louder. He could only compromise. In the end, it was inevitable that it would evolve into a prolonged battle between dragons and phoenixes that engulfed hundreds of worlds. From the start of the war until now, too many people from Wudong Realm had fallen. Even if it was to avenge these people, he did not want to stop. However, the clansmen beside him wanted to stop the battle. The Realm Master of Wudong Realm knew that if these realms retreated one after another and only Wudong Realm remained, they might not be able to take down Dragon Island. A centipede dies but never falls down. Moreover, Emperor Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demonic Empress were obviously on the dragon's side. Hee hee hee, Realm Lord Wudong laughed, and his voice became louder and louder. It was filled with anger and unwillingness, and it echoed in the hall. It's fine if you want to stop the battle, but I only have one question for you. Realm Lord Wudong looked around and said loudly, for thousands of years, hundreds of worlds, countless clansmen, and countless heroic spirits have fallen in the battle between dragons and phoenixes. Who will pay for this blood debt? In the hall, more than 100 Imperial Emperors were silent, as if they were stunned by Realm Lord Wudong's words. Realm Lord Wudong turned his head to look at Wu Dao's original body. He had completely thrown away his fear of Araki Takashi and said loudly, "It's fine if you want to stop the battle, but can you give me an explanation for such a deep blood feud, Araki Takashi?" Many people saw Realm Lord Wudong speaking to Wu Dao's original body like this, and they secretly broke out in cold sweat for him. Unexpectedly, Wu Dao's original body was not angry. Instead, he nodded and said calmly, "Someone indeed needs to pay for this blood debt." "Who?" Realm Lord Wudong asked coldly. "The Lord of the Witch World." Wu Dao's original body said, "The Lord of the Witch World?" Realm Lord Wudong frowned. What did this have to do with the Lord of the Witch World? In the battle between dragons and phoenixes, the Witch World did not participate at all. In the hall, some of the Imperial Emperors had calm expressions. Some were like Realm Lord Wudong, puzzled and puzzled. All these years, the reason why the Dragon World has been fighting everywhere and wantonly killing foreign races is because the Lord of the Dragon World has been infected with the curse of Yin Shang, lost his mind, and was controlled by others. Wu Dao's original body briefly explained what happened on Dragon Island. Many Imperial Emperors found it hard to believe. There was a lot of discussion in the hall. Of course, there were still many Imperial Emperors who were suspicious. "These are just your one-sided words," Realm Lord Wudong said in a deep voice. "Who knows if this is a reason you made up to offend the dragons? Even if what you said is true, it's because the dragons were careless and underestimated their enemy that they were manipulated. In the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes, the dragons still have an unshirkable responsibility. Do you think that the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes was only started by the dragons? Wu Dao's original body asked in return. What do you mean? Realm Lord Wudong frowned. He could vaguely hear that Wu Dao's original body seemed to be implying something. I believe in fellow Taoist Araki Takashi. The Lord of the Blood World suddenly said, with his reputation and prestige, there's no need for him to make up such nonsense. Following that, many imperial emperors also stood out and expressed their belief in Wu Dao's original body. Even on the side of the Wudong realm, there were a few imperial emperors who believed in Wu Dao's original body. If it's according to what fellow Taoist Araki Takashi said, there's even less need for this battle to continue. The Lord of the Blood World said in a deep voice, the Blood World is the first to withdraw. I'll gather my clansmen now and return to the Blood World. As he spoke, the Lord of the Blood World stood up and cupped his hands towards the surroundings. Then, he nodded at Wu Dao's original body and said, everyone, farewell. My Poison World will also withdraw. The Lord of the Poison World followed closely behind. In the main hall, a portion of the imperial emperors stood up one after another and prepared to leave. Looking at this scene, Realm Lord Wudong felt that it was extremely absurd. More than 100 imperial emperors were gathered here. The army of hundreds of realms had become a pile of loose sand with just a few words from Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. The battle between the dragons and the phoenixes that had lasted for thousands of years had ended like this. Realm Lord Wudong slowly sat back down and leaned against his seat. He looked at the imperial emperors who stood up to bid farewell. He felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart, and his interest waned. Who allowed you to leave? At this moment, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded in the main hall. All the noise and clamor instantly disappeared. Many imperial emperors looked in the direction of the voice and saw Wu Dao's original body sitting there. Their expressions were uncertain. Realm Lord Wudong suddenly straightened his body and his heart trembled. What was Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi trying to do? He had already achieved his goal. Was he going to cause more trouble? End of this chapter. Chapter 3084. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, what can I do for you? The Lord of the Blood World asked with a frown. I'll treat everyone to a cup of tea. Wu Dao waved his sleeves and placed more than 100 teacups in the air in the blink of an eye. They were filled with steaming hot tea. He said calmly, the tea leaves are ordinary, but the spring water used to make the tea is extremely rare. It's difficult to find it in the 3,000 worlds. Many imperial monarchs found this rather baffling. So what if the spring water was rare and precious? They were all imperial emperors. What kind of good tea had they not drunk? There's no need for tea. An imperial emperor smiled and said, I've never drunk tea in my life. Thank you for your kindness, Araki Takashi. With that, the imperial emperor was about to walk out of the hall. Dong! Suddenly, Wu Dao's finger knocked on the table beside him, and a sharp, ear-piercing sound was heard. The imperial emperor's body trembled, and the pain in his chest was unbearable. He could only stop. If you want to leave, you can. Drink this cup of tea first. Wu Dao said indifferently. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi, what do you mean by this? Emperor Huangyu from Wudong Realm shouted. Another imperial emperor from Wudong Realm also said in a deep voice, Araki Takashi, aren't you being too overbearing? Seeing Araki Takashi being so overbearing, Realm Lord Wudong was furious. Just as he was about to stand up, he saw Emperor Huangyu and the Imperial Emperor beside him stand up. Realm Lord Wudong frowned and did not say anything. It was a little strange. Emperor Huangyu and the others agreed to Araki Takashi's proposal to stop the battle immediately. They were afraid of Araki Takashi's combat strength. At this moment, these people stood up again and confronted Araki Takashi. Their tones were unfriendly. The contrast between the performance of Emperor Huangyu and the others was too great. In addition, Araki Takashi had just mentioned the Yin Shang curse, so he couldn't help but be suspicious. Could it be that the people of Wudong Realm were also cursed? This thought flashed through his mind, and Realm Lord Wudong was shocked. However, when he recalled the cause, development, and process of the war between the dragons and the phoenixes for thousands of years, there seemed to be an invisible force pushing it. Realm Lord Wudong decided to wait and see. Araki Takashi, of the poison. Who knows what? T. He. He is. He. B. You. B. B. The Flower Realm's nether calamity poison should be your doing. Everyone else in the hall can leave as long as they drink this cup of tea. As for you, you can't leave today. The Poison World Lord's expression was gloomy as he stared at Wu Dao. He placed his hand on his storage bag and did not say a word. Realm Lord Wudong asked in a deep voice, Imperial Lord Araki Takashi, what's the use of this tea? This cup of tea only has one use, and that is to wash away the curse in your body. Wu Dao said, if you're not cursed, there won't be any reaction after drinking this cup of tea. As Imperial Lords, we will never listen to your orders. Another Imperial Lord stepped forward and said loudly, if you ask us to drink it, we will drink it. If word of this gets out, where will our face go? I invited you to drink tea. If you don't drink it, then I'm sorry. Wu Dao slowly stood up. The expressions of all the Imperial monarchs changed when they heard this. As the martial Dao main body stood up, the Imperial monarchs in the hall suddenly felt an enormous pressure that was suffocating. Everyone was clearly standing in the main hall, but as the martial Dao body stood up, everyone had an illusion in their hearts. It was as if Araki Takashi was above everyone and looking down at them. What was Imperial Lord Araki Takashi doing? Could it be that he wanted to fight with more than 100 Imperial Lords in this hall? What are you waiting for? The Poison World Lord suddenly shouted, as Imperial Lords, how can we allow him to humiliate us like this? Before he finished speaking, the Poison World Lord held up a world. Poison gas filled the air and was about to gush out. As soon as this world appeared, before the martial Dao body could react, the expressions of all the Imperial monarchs at the side changed drastically, and they hurriedly moved aside. They propped up a world to protect themselves as they were deeply afraid that they would be contaminated by the toxic poison within. Wu Dao's eyes narrowed as he saw it clearly. There were more than 10,000 types of poison in the Poison World Lord's world, and one of them clearly suppressed the other poison gases. It was the Nether Calamity poison. It's really you. Wu Dao's main body activated his essence soul and used his divine will. Rumble. Following a series of shocking blasts, giant, ancient doors descended from the sky around the palace with overwhelming auras. Translator, Zephy Editor. Dio Quinn. Some of the doors were surrounded by demonic chi. Some of the doors were burning with flames. Some of the doors were filled with ghostly shadows. Some of the doors were bone-piercing cold. 10 doors descended and sealed all the exits of the hall. 10 doors of hell. At the same time, a universe enveloped down and merged with the hall. However, there were no flames under this universe. Worried that it would cause too much of a commotion, Wu Dao's main body only released half of the martial universe. Together with the 10 doors of hell, he trapped more than 100 Imperial Lords here. Everyone, follow me and kill our way out. The Lord of the Blood World raised his arm and shouted, Araki Takashi wants to kill all of us. What are you all worried about? Are you all going to wait for death? The Lord of the Tomb Realm also encouraged loudly. Upon hearing that, many Imperial Lords no longer hesitated. They held up a world and prepared to charge out of this universe. Right at that moment, the sound of a river gushing suddenly came from one of the 10 doors. Before everyone could react, a large expanse of surging torrents surged out from the door, and they covered the heavens and the earth as they poured into the world. In the blink of an eye, the entire hall was drowned by the torrent and filled with mist. More than 100 Imperial Lords held up their own worlds to resist the impact of the torrent. Many Imperial Emperors sensed the power emitted by the torrent, and they revealed a look of fear and panic. This door was the Hell Door. The torrent that surged out from inside was the Hell Water Spring. Since these Imperial Lords were unwilling to drink tea, he could only guide the Hell Water Spring into the hall and give them a quick death. The Hell Water Spring could wash away the curse. Although the cursed Imperial Lords had a world protecting them and could temporarily not be invaded by the Hell Water Spring, they would still feel deep fear. Once the world shattered, they would be completely exposed to the Hell Water Spring. Chapter 3085. Outside Zhong Yu's palace, many Grotto Heaven Kings were discussing with interest. Something's wrong inside. It seems like there's an argument. From the looks of it, it seems like the Lord of the Blood World and the others want to leave, but Imperial Lord Araki Takashi won't let them. Before anyone could react, a universe enveloped them and 10 huge doors appeared, completely sealing the palace in front of them. The auras emitted by these 10 doors were too terrifying. There were some doors that made one's bloodline and primordial spirit feel a burning pain just by looking at them. Some of the doors emitted a huge suction force, as if they wanted to devour them. Retreat. Many Grotto Heaven Kings summoned their respective Grotto Heavens, but could not withstand it. Their expressions changed drastically as they retreated and fled into the distance, looking at the palace with lingering fear. In the palace, the hell water spring surged over and drowned everyone in the hall. The Imperial Emperors could only rely on their worlds to temporarily resist the impact of the hell water spring. Wu Dao's true body walked side by side with Daiyu. Wherever they passed, the hell water spring would make way and open a path. Arriving beside Imperial Lord Huangyu, Wu Dao's true body circulated his blood qi and punched. Boom! This punch landed on Imperial Lord Huangyu's perfected world and exploded with a loud bang. The immense force even caused the surrounding hell water spring to disperse. Ka. Immediately after, Imperial Lord Huangyu heard a terrifying sound. Cracks appeared on the world that he had condensed, and they quickly spread out, covering the entire world. Imperial Lord Huangyu's eyes widened, and his face turned pale. When the other Imperial Emperors saw this scene, they were also shocked and felt their scalps tingle. Imperial Lord Araki Takashi's casual punch shattered a peak Imperial Lord's perfected world with just his physical body and bloodline combat power. Only Daiyu knew that Wu Dao's true body was even stronger than during the Battle of the Grand Desolate World. The two true bodies reunited in the Dragon World and exchanged a few items. Wu Dao's true body handed the Soul Lamp and the Evil Emperor's Jade Pendant to Qinglian's true body. To Wu Dao's true body, the Soul Lamp was no longer of any use to him. The fire of the Soul Lamp had already fused into his martial soul and became a part of it. As for the Jade Pendant, Wu Dao's true body had yet to discover any use for it. It seemed to be able to help him resist illusions. However, with his current cultivation realm, there were no illusions that could affect him. After pondering for a long time, Wu Dao's true body, the Jade Pendant used true body. As for the martial Dao true body, it devoured the immortal Dao fire, Fiend Dao fire, Buddhist Dao fire, and Vermilion Bird Heavenly Fire from the Green Lotus true body and merged them into the universe. The Vermilion Bird Heavenly Flame merged with the Dragon Phoenix Flame and transformed into the Holy Vermilion Bird Flame. In other words, there were the Netherworld Ghost Fire, Red Lotus Karmic Fire, Tribulation Fire, Sacred Vermilion Flame, Hellfire, Immortal Dao Fire, Fiend Dao Fire, Buddhist Dao Fire, and Martial Soul Fire in the Martial Cultivation universe. A total of 9 flames. With the support of the 9 flames, the Origin Martial Grotto Heaven devoured and refined the world fragments obtained from the Battle of the Grand Desolate World. Now, it had transformed into a world. The Dao body of Wu Dao's true body was the Origin Martial Grotto Heaven. The transformation of the Origin Martial Grotto Heaven also meant that the body and bloodline of Wu Dao's true body had been reborn. His combat strength had increased exponentially. Emperor Huangyu's world shattered and collapsed. The hell spring surged and engulfed her instantly. Emperor Huangyu let out a tragic cry as her entire body trembled. Green smoke rose from the top of her head, and her eyes had completely transformed into a strange green color. Curse! Realm Lord Wu Tong's eyes narrowed when he saw this scene and exclaimed. Emperor Huangyu's curse was extremely severe. It was even worse than the Dragon's Emperor's scorching Sunday. Under the wash of the hell spring, she let out a tragic cry and died. Boom, boom, boom. Wu Dao's true body walked on the waves. With a few casual punches, he shattered the surrounding Imperial Emperor's world and allowed the hell spring to pour in. Among these Imperial Emperors, some were like Emperor Huangyu. The power of the Yin Shang curse was exposed. Some were washed by the hell spring but were not harmed. Some imperial emperors also understood what was going on. Emperor Araki Takashi's goal was still to target those who were cursed. If they were not cursed, they would not be harmed even if they were drowned by the surrounding spring water. Wu Dao's true body walked past these people and did not even look at them. After understanding this matter, some imperial emperors with a clear conscience decided to withdraw a world and let the hell spring wash over them. It was better to take the initiative than to let Emperor Araki Takashi shatter their world with a single punch. Seeing Wu Dao's true body walking over, Realm Lord Wu Tong was shocked. He hurriedly withdrew a world and allowed the hell spring to wash over them. Other than being drenched, he did not feel any discomfort. Just as Wu Dao's true body had thought, most of the imperial emperors who had agreed to stop the battle were infected with the Yin Shang curse. As for those like Realm Lord Wu Tong, who seemed to be reckless and dared to confront him, they were not controlled by the Witch Realm Lord. What surprised Wu Dao's true body was that the few people he paid attention to, such as the Blood Realm Lord, the Poison Realm Lord, the Tomb Realm Lord, the Bone Realm Lord, and the others, were not cursed. The Poison Realm Lord took the initiative to disperse a world and allowed the hell spring to wash over them to show his innocence. Seeing this, Wu Dao's true body smiled faintly and said, "I told you, you can't leave today. Even if you aren't cursed, you will still have a debt of blood from the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes." As he spoke, Wu Dao's true body had already walked towards the Poison Realm Lord. Die. Seeing this, the Poison Realm Lord no longer had any extravagant hopes. His gaze was cold as he condensed the Nether Calamity world again and suppressed it towards Wu Dao's true body. Boom! Wu Dao's true body still raised his hand and punched, shattering this world as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Araki Takashi, if you want to kill me, you will have to die too. Seeing this, the Poison Realm Lord was not shocked but delighted instead as he laughed sinisterly. His Nether Calamity world was filled with lethal poison. Every world fragment was enough to poison an Imperial Emperor to death. Now that the Nether Calamity world was shattered, all the lethal poison poured down and enveloped Wu Dao's true body. The Poison Realm Lord knew very well. With Araki Takashi's combat strength, it was very difficult for other poisons to pose any threat to him. However, even Imperial Emperors could not resist the Nether Calamity poison. In order to refine the Nether Calamity poison, one needed a medicinal herb that did not exist in the 3,000 worlds. In the world, only one person could refine it. As long as Araki Takashi was infected with the Nether Calamity poison, his combat strength would be greatly reduced. At that time, the remaining Imperial Emperors in the hall would have a chance to kill him if they joined forces. Wu Dao's true body sneered slightly. With his terrifying blood vitality, even the Nether Calamity poison was unable to get close to him. Even if the Nether Calamity poison entered his body, the 9 supreme flames could still incinerate any lethal poison in the world. Not to mention that he could draw out the hell spring water at any time through the secluded prison door in the gates of hell and cleanse all the lethal poisons in the world. End of this chapter. Chapter 3086. Wu Dao's true body was filled with vitality. He broke through the layers of poison miasma and grabbed the Poison World Lord's neck. With a flip of his hand, he threw him onto the door of hell. The door of hell spewed out layers of mist that enveloped the Poison World Lord. The Poison World Lord let out a shrill scream. His body began to rot under the influence of the hell spring water and disintegrated bit by bit. The Lord of the Poison World's physical body and bloodline contained deadly poison. His body was a body of poison. The process of the hell spring water cleansing the poison was equivalent to decomposing and corroding the Poison World Lord bit by bit. Under countless gazes, the Poison World Lord was swallowed by the door of hell and disappeared. Under the attack of Wu Dao's true body and the cleansing of the hell spring water, the Yin Shang puppets in the hall were exposed one after another. Araki Takashi. At this moment, more than 30 Imperial Emperors in the hall suddenly looked at Wu Dao's true body at the same time. Their eyes were dark and suffused with a green light. Their eyes were filled with hatred. "I've retreated again and again. Don't go too far." More than 40 imperial emperors spoke at the same time. Their tones and tones changed, and they became extremely unfamiliar voices. In fact, the Lord of the Sorcerer World had already sensed that he had suddenly lost control of the puppets in the dragon world. However, he did not expect that Wu Dao's true body did not intend to stop just like that. When he controlled the Yin Shang puppets and arrived in this hall, he vaguely realized that something was wrong. Therefore, after Wu Dao's true body suggested a ceasefire, these puppet imperial emperors who had lost their minds immediately agreed to it to avoid conflict with Wu Dao's true body. However, Wu Dao's true body's decisiveness in killing exceeded the Lord of the Sorcerer World's expectations. Wu Dao's true body had no intention of letting his Yin Shang puppets leave at all. When they saw this scene, the remaining imperial emperors' expressions changed in shock. Among the more than 100 imperial emperors, 30% of them were infected with the Yin Shang curse and were controlled by the Lord of the Sorcerer World, completely losing their minds. Just on the side of Wudong realm, there were 6 imperial emperors who were infected with the curse. At this moment, Realm Lord Wudong finally understood why Emperor Araki Takashi wanted to put the blood debt of the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes on the sorcerer tribe. Whether it was the dragon world, the Wudong world, or even the many worlds that were forced into it, all the living beings of the 10,000 races were victims. Hundreds of realms and countless living beings died mysteriously under the manipulation of the masters of the sorcerer realm and the poison realm. Facing the threat of the master of the sorcerer world, Wu Dao's main body acted as if he didn't hear anything. He continued to walk forward and shattered the worlds of the Yin Shang puppets. As long as the 30-odd sovereign emperors did not suffer from the curse for too long, they would at least be able to survive after being washed away by the Hell Water Spring. The many secular world kings gathered in Zhongyu City, looking at the palace in the middle of the city from afar as they discussed softly. What is Emperor Araki Takashi trying to do? Could it be that he still wants to suppress the 100 over imperial emperors inside? After all, Emperor Araki Takashi is not a great monarch yet. I don't think he has such means. Not long after, the 10 terrifying doors that were emitting endless pressure slowly faded away. Everything in the palace was revealed in front of everyone once again. The palace was in a mess, and it was in chaos. No one knew what the imperial emperors inside had experienced. Although they had just changed their clothes, their faces were all pale and their hearts were still palpitating. Some of the imperial emperors were even more frightened. After leaving the palace, they did not say a word and directly tore open the void and left in a hurry. Among the imperial emperors in the palace, only Araki Takashi and Shuedai seemed to be calm. The kings were all confused by the scene. Naturally, they did not know that in just a short while, the group of imperial emperors in the palace seemed to have taken a trip around the gates of hell. As imperial emperors, they were already standing at the peak of the upper world. But in that palace, their lives were in the hands of a single thought from that person. It seems like some imperial emperors are missing. Some kings had already noticed that something was wrong. Where is the Poison Realm Lord? Has Imperial Emperor Huang Yu also disappeared? It seems like there are more than 10 imperial emperors less than before. Could it be? At this moment, an imperial emperor walked over and called a few of his subordinates over. He said in a low voice, "Stop talking. The Poison Realm Lord and the others have already died." Who killed them? Who else could it be? Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. As soon as these words came out, they instantly spread out in the crowd, causing an uproar. The kings of the Grotto Heavens were secretly shocked. In front of more than 100 imperial emperors, Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi had killed more than 10 imperial emperors, including the Poison Realm Lord. Isn't he too powerful? From the looks of it, it seemed like many imperial emperors had suffered a great loss in the hands of Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. Could it be this matter is over just like that? What else can we do? The battle between the dragon and the phoenix has stopped. Inform everyone to evacuate as soon as possible. Stop the battle? Why? Seeing that the Dragon Island is about to be destroyed and the final battle is right in front of us, who allowed the battle to stop? Another commotion broke out in the crowd. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. All the complaints and noises disappeared in an instant. It was as if these 4 words were emitting an invisible deterrent force that made people feel suffocated. After Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi intervened in the war that had lasted for thousands of years and involved hundreds of realms, less than an hour later, the war was announced to stop. What was even more terrifying was that hundreds of realms of various sizes, including the Wudong realm and the Blood realm, did not have the slightest objection. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi, we can't thank you enough. We don't know how to repay you. In the future, if Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi has any orders, we will definitely go through fire and water and die 1,000 deaths. A few Imperial Emperors from the Wudong realm who had been cursed but had managed to preserve their lives bowed deeply to Wu Dao's original body. If not for Wu Dao's original body, who knew how long they would have continued to do evil and harm many of their clansmen. Fellow Araki Takashi, Realm Lord Wudong walked over with a hesitant expression and said carefully, "My tone just now was not good and offended you. I hope you can forgive me." Realm Lord Wudong recalled how he had shouted at the person in front of him just now and felt a lingering fear in his heart. As an Imperial Emperor, he had the dignity of an Imperial Emperor and could not be offended. Moreover, Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi was clearly helping the Wudong realm, but he did not know what was good for him. Under such circumstances, even if this person killed him, no one could say anything. Wu Dao's original body turned his head and looked over. The eyes under the silver mask were as deep as an abyss. He calmly looked at Realm Lord Wudong and suddenly raised his palm and slapped over. "It's over." Realm Lord Wudong closed his eyes and his heart instantly sank to the bottom. In front of this person, he did not even have the strength to resist. Moreover, this person had just saved the Wudong realm and was the benefactor of the Wudong realm. No matter what, he could not fight back. "If I die, so be it." Realm Lord Wudong sighed in his heart. Pa. That terrifying palm gently landed on his shoulder. Realm Lord Wudong's entire body trembled, but he did not feel any pain. He subconsciously opened his eyes and looked over. He saw that person patting his shoulder and nodding slightly. "You're quite bold." Realm Lord Wudong was stunned and his emotions were complicated. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi had been decisive and domineering in the main hall just now, but at this moment, he did not find trouble with him. If it was another bloodthirsty person, he would have died countless times. And Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi's words just now, other than making him feel that he had survived a disaster, it also made him feel flattered. It was as if being able to receive the praise of Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi was the greatest honor in his life. End of this chapter. Chapter 3087. Zhongyu City. Realm Lord Wudong and the other Imperial Emperors sighed as they watched Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Xuedai leave. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi solved the problem of the voodoo poison with lightning speed and calmed the war between the dragons and the phoenixes. Now, he doesn't claim credit and left with Demon Empress Xuedai. It's truly admirable. If not for Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi, we would still be bewitched by the voodoo and poison worlds and be manipulated by others. Who knows how many of our clansmen would have died. These two are peerless figures of this era. They are truly a match made in heaven. I wonder which one of them will be able to take that step and become a great emperor. While everyone was discussing, Realm Lord Wudong suddenly said, "Are you all planning to go back just like that?" "Oh, why do you say that?" Another Imperial Emperor asked. "I'm not willing to accept this," Realm Lord Wudong said slowly. "I also feel injustice for the countless living beings who have died over the years. The witch world and the poison world must pay with blood." Many Imperial Emperors nodded secretly with killing intent on their faces. However, there were also some Imperial Emperors who hesitated and said, "After years of war, the soldiers under our command have suffered heavy losses. Even if we join forces, it won't be easy to break through the witch world and completely destroy it." After all, the witch world was also a super world. The war between the dragons and the phoenixes had lasted for thousands of years. If another war broke out with the witch world, these realms wouldn't be able to withstand it for thousands of years. After the war, many realms wanted to go back and recuperate. Realm Lord Wudong said, "It's naturally a fool's dream to destroy the witch world and the poison world in one battle. However, we are going this time to seek justice for the heroic spirits who have died over the years and vent our anger." I agree. Soon, Imperial Emperors stepped forward one after another. Of course, there were also some Imperial Emperors who were prepared to return home. Realm Lord Wudong could understand the thoughts of these Imperial Emperors and didn't force them. "Let's devour the Poison World army here first," an Imperial Emperor said with killing intent. "Then we'll go to the Witch World and Poison World and kill to our heart's content. Dragon World, Dragon Island." The remaining 8 Imperial Emperors of the Dragon World, including the Lord of the Dragon World, the group of Dragon Kings, Long Ran, Longli, Monkey, and the others were all waiting in the main hall for news from Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. Although Monarch Araki Takashi was powerful, no one could be sure if he could suppress hundreds of realms, more than 100 monarch experts, and end the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes. "Where's Brother Su?" Longli looked around and didn't see any trace of Su Zimo, so he asked Long Ran in a low voice. "He's in seclusion," Long Ran said casually. Longli nodded and muttered, "Big Brother Su is really carefree. He doesn't seem to care about these things at all." "That's right, Big Brother Long Ran. Since both of you are from the same realm, then Big Brother Su should know Emperor Araki Takashi, right?" "I do," Long Ran said. "The two of them are very close. Is that so?" Long Ran blinked and said in confusion, "Then why haven't I heard Big Brother Su mention it? Moreover, they haven't spoken to each other since Emperor Araki Takashi arrived." "Girl, you're still too young," Long Ran said meaningfully. "They're so close that they don't even need to greet each other." "Is that so?" Longli was so scared that he was stunned. Right at this moment, a true dragon tore through the air. When he descended, he transformed into his human form and ran in quickly. With an excited expression, he shouted, "Some realms have already started to withdraw their troops." The dragons were invigorated. Then, a dragon roar sounded. Not long after, another true dragon rushed in excitedly and said, "I just received news that Emperor Araki Takashi gathered more than 100 monarch experts in Zhongyu City's palace and sealed the 10 doors for a secret discussion. In less than an hour, the monarchs agreed to stop the war." Also, more than 10 monarchs, including the Poison World Lord, died in the hall. "Good move. It's done." The Dragon World Lord and the others looked at each other and finally relaxed. They smiled. The crisis of the dragons was resolved. But soon, the dragons recalled their painful experiences over the years. Looking at their sparse clansmen, they could not help but feel sad. Although the dragons were saved, their vitality was greatly damaged. The number of dragons was extremely small to begin with. It would take countless years for them to recover to the peak of a super world. "Where are Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Monarch Shuedai?" the Frost Dragon Emperor asked. The True Dragon said, "I'm not sure. It's said that the two monarchs left after ending the war. No one knows where they went. These two have done us dragons a great favor. I really don't know how to repay them," the Frost Dragon Emperor said. At this moment, the Dragon World Lord slowly stood up and said, "My clansmen, the disaster of the dragons all these years was caused by me. I'm ashamed to face you all." The Dragon World Lord knelt down in the direction of the graves of the Dragon Emperors. His eyes flashed with a final determination as he said, "Fortunately, I don't have much time left. I deserve it." The Dragon World Lord was heavily affected by the Yin Shang curse. Although his life was temporarily saved, his primordial spirit was very weak. He could not hold on for more than a few days. "Ocean Treader, this matter is not entirely your fault," the Frost Dragon Emperor sighed. "Everyone, I'll leave the dragon world to you from now on." The Ocean Treader Dragon Emperor stood up and bid farewell to the dragons. There were also 2 dragon emperors who were affected by the Yin Shang curse. They quietly followed the Ocean Treader Dragon Emperor. "Ocean Treader Dragon, your life is coming to an end. Find a cave on the Dragon Island and pass away," the Frost Dragon Emperor said. The Ocean Treader Dragon Emperor shook his head and laughed bitterly. "I'm a sinner. I don't deserve to be buried on the Dragon Island." The dragon emperors in history would choose to pass away on the dragon island if they had a good ending. They would leave behind a remnant soul to protect the dragon island. But now, seeing that the ocean treader dragon emperor had made up his mind, the dragons could not persuade him anymore. Under everyone's gaze, the ocean treader dragon emperor and the other two left the dragon island and soon disappeared. The two of you, let's part ways here. The ocean treader dragon emperor turned to the two dragon emperors behind him and said as he came out of the dragon world, "Realm Lord, we know where you're going." One of the dragon emperors said. The other dragon emperor said, "Realm Lord, we're all sinners. We've been bewitched and lost our minds. We've committed countless sins over the years. We can't be forgiven. Only death awaits us. As dragons, even if we die, we'll fight to the death. Realm Lord, we'll go to the witch world with you." The ocean treader dragon emperor finally laughed. With tears in his eyes, he said loudly, Good brother. The three of us will go to the witch world together." The voodoo poison this time had greatly damaged the dragon's vitality, and they had suffered heavy losses. More importantly, it had dealt a huge blow to the dragon's spirit. The ocean treader dragon emperor could feel the huge loss and dejection of the dragons. If this continued, the dragon race might completely decline and be unable to recover from this setback. The dragons were short of breath. With the dragon world's current strength, even if they knew that they were being manipulated by the witch race, they could not fight back and win back their pride. The dragons could no longer withstand the war between the realms. Since that was the case, the three dragon emperors would fight for it with their lives. They would use the blood of the three dragon emperors to protect the final dignity of the dragons. Chapter 3088. Sorcerer World. Dark Sorcerer Peak, the holy land of the Sorcerer World. Legend had it that the sorcerer ancestor of the Sorcerer World was born on this peak. It was also where the providence of the Sorcerer World lay. Later on, this sorcerer ancestor became the Dark Sorcerer Emperor. With this peak as the center, he expanded his territory and established the Sorcerer World, becoming a super world of that era. In the Sorcerer World, only those who became emperors had the right to open up a cave abode to cultivate on Dark Sorcerer Peak. Boom! A loud explosion suddenly came from Dark Sorcerer Peak. The door of a cave abode exploded, and a figure slowly walked out from the smoke and dust. His face was gloomy, and his eyes were dark. It was the Sorcerer World Master. Then, powerful auras burst out from Dark Sorcerer Peak. Many sorcerer emperors came out of seclusion and came to the Sorcerer World Master. There were more than 40 of them. If other imperial monarchs saw this scene, they would definitely turn pale with fright. For a superworld like the Protoss and the Stone Tribe, although there were more than 10 emperors, there were definitely not more than 40 of them. With so many emperors, it was already beyond the scope of a superworld. No one knew that the Sorcerer World had become so powerful over the years. Realm Master, what happened? A sorcerer emperor asked. Araki Takashi ruined my plans. The Sorcerer World Master's eyes were dark as he gritted his teeth and said, The Yen Shang puppets in the Dragon World, Wudong World, and many other worlds were all destroyed by him. The sorcerer emperors exclaimed in shock. Then, killing intent appeared on their faces as they flew into a rage. Araki Takashi deserves to die. Is he really so powerful that he is invincible? If we release a curse on his primordial spirit at the same time, can't we kill him? The Sorcerer World Master's expression was cold as he said slowly, No matter how strong Araki Takashi is, he has not become a great emperor. There must be a limit. As long as we break through this limit, we can kill him. A sorcerer emperor looked worried and said in a deep voice, Realm Master, will Araki Takashi kill his way to the sorcerer world? The other sorcerer emperors were shocked when they heard that. How dare he? The master of the sorcerer world shouted angrily. An imperial lord of the Magus race said, Why don't we inform Master first and let him make a decision after such a huge change? If Master were to act, killing him would be as easy as flipping his hand. The Sorcerer Realm Master snorted coldly. After pausing for a moment, the Master of the Sorcerer Realm continued, However, My lord once reminded me to try my best not to have any conflicts with him. At the mention of this, the master of the sorcerer world felt a wave of irritation in his heart, and he cursed. Who would have thought that an ordinary dragon would actually attract him? Then why don't we go back and hide for a while? Another emperor of the Magus race suggested. Because of Emperor Araki Takashi, he had led many sorcerer tribesmen to hide. To the sorcerer world master, this was a great humiliation. It was too embarrassing. However, he also knew in his heart that if a battle with Araki Takashi were to break out now, it would be disadvantageous to the Magi tribe and affect his master's plan. Let me think about it. The master of the sorcerer world pondered and said, even if Araki Takashi moves immediately, it will take him a day to get here. I will make a decision after 2 hours. You don't have to decide. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky above Dark Sorcerer Peak. The master of the sorcerer world was shocked. More than 40 emperor of the sorcerer tribe also looked toward the voice. The person who came was actually able to hide from all of their divine senses and suddenly arrived at the center of the sorcerer world, above Dark Sorcerer Peak. The sky cracked open, and 2 figures came out together. It was a man and a woman. Their bodies emitted a terrifying pressure that caused one's heart to palpitate. It was as if they were the rulers of the world, and they were unstoppable. Araki Takashi. When the master of the sorcerer world saw the purple-robed man wearing a silver mask, his expression changed drastically as he exclaimed, "How is this possible? Araki Takashi and Shuedai were just in the Wudong realm. How did they come to the sorcerer world in the blink of an eye?" When Wu Dao's original body and Daiyu arrived at the sorcerer world, they frowned slightly when they saw more than 40 emperor experts around Dark Sorcerer Peak. It wasn't that these emperors were a great threat to them. It was that there were more than 40 emperors in the sorcerer world. It was truly shocking. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to step into the monarch realm. Since ancient times, even if it was a super great world that was powerful for a period of time, there would not be many imperial emperors. It was too unusual for more than 40 emperors to appear in the sorcerer world. If a world that didn't know about this started a war with the sorcerer world, it would suffer greatly. Araki Takashi, what are you trying to do? The master of the sorcerer world flew into the sky. His eyes were gloomy as he said slowly, "The battle between the dragons and the phoenixes has nothing to do with you. If you save that true dragon, I will follow you. In Zhongyu City, I have been patient with you. You better not go too far." Go too far? Wu Dao's original body laughed. For thousands of years, you have used the Yin Shang curse to control all living beings, instigating the battle between the dragons and phoenixes and the Kuan Peng. You have caused the destruction of many worlds and the deaths of countless living beings. You are full of evil and have committed such a heinous debt of blood. How dare you say that I am going too far? The master of the sorcerer world sneered when he heard that. Those ants have nothing to do with you. What does their life and death have to do with you? Aren't you overstepping your boundaries? Wu Dao's original body shook his head slightly. Their das were different. There's no need to say anything else. Pay your debt. The eyes of Wu Dao's original body shone brightly. He strode forward and raised his fist, punching towards the master of the sorcerer world. Kill. More than 40 emperors roared and joined forces to support worlds that suppressed Wu Dao's original body. Rumble. Boom. The blood chi in Wu Dao's original body surged. He did not retreat or dodge. He raised his fist and smashed towards the large and small worlds in front of him. Boom. 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 In an instant, Wu Dao's original body punched out 10 times in a row. Like a volcano erupting, it was blazing fiercely. Majestic power and unstoppable will descended with a loud bang. Heaven and earth shook, and mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The worlds of more than 40 emperors were all shattered. Only the world of the master of the sorcerer world could still hold on. It was on the verge of collapse. More than 40 emperors trembled and their expressions changed. They were sent flying by Wu Dao's original body's 10 punches. They spat out blood and were severely injured. Araki Takashi, the master of the sorcerer world, screamed with a mournful expression, "How dare you kill me? My lord will definitely sense it." He will definitely not let you off. Oh? Wu Dao's original body was not afraid at all when he heard that. He nodded repeatedly. I just want to see the true appearance of your lord. It's fine if he doesn't come. If he dares to come, I'll kill him together. Boom. Wu Dao's original body carried the hell suppression cauldron and descended from the sky, shattering the world of the master of the sorcerer world. The remaining power of the hell suppression cauldron was not exhausted and smashed onto the body of the master of the sorcerer world, turning him into a blood mist instantly. Life-severing curse. A dark light flashed. The essence spirit of the master of the sorcerer world escaped ahead of time and released the essence spirit secret skill of the witch race towards Suzimo. It was a curse that could only be released by sacrificing one's essence spirit. It was called life-severing. Back in Tianhuang mainland, Qinglian's true body was troubled by the life-severing curse for a long time. At the same time, the other emperors of the witch race condensed their essence spirits and released curses that targeted their essence spirits. Chapter 3089. Including the master of the sorcerer realm's life-severing curse, many curses landed on the Mara mask on Wu Dao's face, but they only caused ripples. Those essence spirit secret skills could not penetrate the defense of the underworld river's water. When the sorcerer world master saw this, he felt despair. Once the life-severing curse was released, regardless of whether the opponent was dead or alive, there was only one ending for him: death. The master of the sorcerer world's gaze finally landed on the dark sorcerer peak below. Perhaps only the dark sorcerer peak could protect the wizard tribe. The life force of the primordial spirit of the sorcerer world master was rapidly dissipating. Wu Dao's true body directly captured his primordial spirit and condensed a supreme Dao technique to delay the fall of the master of the sorcerer world as much as possible. Although the success rate of soul searching on sovereign emperors was very low, Zhang Xian was confident in his ability. However, he still had to give it a try. There must be a secret behind the sorcerer tribe. Wu Dao's original body wanted to find some clues through the master of the witch world. Once the life-severing curse was unleashed, it was irreversible. However, under the suppression of Wu Dao's true body's Dao runes, the life-severing curse was forcefully suppressed and the master of the witch world was temporarily saved. There were still a group of imperial emperors around. Now was not the time to search their souls. After blocking the numerous essence soul secret techniques with the mask of Mo Luo, Wu Dao's glabella flickered and released a purplish-gold martial soul fire. The moment the purple-gold flame appeared, the essence spirits of the surrounding imperial emperors of the Magi race felt an intense burning pain. Wu Dao activated his divine sense and unleashed a storm of divine sense onto the martial spirit fire. Whoosh! The martial soul fire was blown away, scattering into dozens of sparks that landed on the bodies of the surrounding imperial emperors of the Magus race. The imperial emperors of the Magus race let out miserable cries before they stopped abruptly. In their sea of consciousness, their primordial spirits had already been burned to ashes by the martial spirit fire, and they died on the spot. This scene was too terrifying. Imperial emperors were already the pinnacle existences in the upper realm. Even in a war between emperors, it was very difficult for them to fall. However, before imperial monarch Araki Takashi, they were simply like weeds. With a wave of his hand, over 10 imperial monarchs perished. The remaining emperors of the Magi race were scared out of their wits. Their faces were pale as they turned to flee. But no matter how fast they were, they could not compare to Wu Dao's true body. Boom! With a single step, Wu Dao's main body caught up to a peak imperial lord of the Magi race. With a single punch, he reduced the imperial lord to dust and destroyed his body and soul. With a thought, the prison-suppressing cauldron descended and smashed another imperial emperor to death. The worlds of these imperial emperors had just been shattered by Wu Dao's true body. They had already lost their greatest reliance. With their bodies and bloodlines, Wu Dao's true body could crush them to death with a single finger. Rumble. The 10 gates of hell passed through the netherworld and descended from the sky with boundless might, smashing into the fleeing imperial emperors of the Magus race. Puff. Puff, puff. A large amount of blood mist spread out, dyeing half of the sky red. In the blink of an eye, less than 10 of the 40 imperial emperors of the Magi race had been killed by Wu Dao. Countless shamans sensed the commotion and came out of seclusion. Then, the shamans witnessed a shocking scene. Those imperial emperors who were usually high and mighty fled in all directions like stray dogs. However, they could not avoid the fate of death. Boom! Right at this moment, an extremely terrifying force emanated from Dark Shaman Peak, and the trees and soil on the entire peak tumbled down one after another to reveal the dense and mysterious talisman markings that were imprinted on the peak, and they emitted a strange dark green radiance. The expression of Wu Dao's true body changed. Be careful. Dai Yu sensed the strength of the power and smelled a hint of danger. She warned softly. The mysterious runes on Underworld Witch Peak came from the same source as the words in the Nine Springs Hell Sutra and Yin Yang Talisman Sutra. The runes contained a strange Dao art. With the help of Underworld Witch Peak, they fused together to form an extremely powerful restriction. Its power had even reached the level of a forbidden art. Araki Takashi, you're finished. The voice of the Lord of the Underworld suddenly sounded from his palm. He laughed loudly. This Underworld Witch forbidden art is enough to kill you. If it was just an ordinary forbidden art, Wu Dao's true body would not need to care at all. However, this Underworld Witch forbidden art did indeed make him feel a hint of threat. Streaks of dark green energy spread over, pervasive and wanting to seep into his body. The body of Wu Dao's true body rumbled, and his qi and blood rose. At the same time, with a thought, the 10 gates of hell smashed down on Underworld Witch Peak. What Underworld Witch forbidden art? Break. Boom, boom, boom. The 10 gates of hell descended and smashed down one after another. Underworld Witch Peak shook continuously, and the mysterious runes on it flickered. The earth shook and the mountains shook, but it still stood tall. How terrifying was the power of the 10 gates of hell. Any one of these portals could shatter a great perfection world. However, the 10 gates of hell were unable to destroy Underworld Witch Peak now. Wu Dao's true body activated his primordial spirit, and the hell-suppressing cauldron descended from the sky. Sanskrit chants came from the cauldron, and various Buddhas appeared around it. The 4 saint souls on the walls of the cauldron awakened and roared into the sky. The Sanskrit chants intertwined, and the hell-suppressing cauldron released a blinding golden light, smashing heavily on Underworld Witch Peak. Within the Hell Gate, the water of the Hell Spring condensed into a torrent that poured down like a waterfall. At the same time, Wu Dao's true body moved, and he took a step forward, landing on the peak of Underworld Witch Peak. At that moment, it was as if time had stopped, and everything was silent. After an unknown period of time, rumble, loud noises came from Underworld Witch Peak. The 10 gates of hell, the hell-suppressing cauldron, the water of the Hell Spring, and the kick of Wu Dao's true body completely shattered Underworld Witch Peak. The mountain collapsed and the ground cracked. The mysterious runes on Underworld Witch Peak had completely dimmed, and they were no longer glowing. Cracks appeared on the mountain, and it completely collapsed amidst the rumbling. Underworld Witch Peak was like a symbol of the witch world. Since the birth of the witch world, although there had been ups and downs, and there had been strong and weak, Underworld Witch Peak had never been baptized by the flames of war. But in this generation, Underworld Witch Peak that gathered the providence of the witch race had collapsed. When the Lord of the Witch World saw this, his heart turned ashen, and his vitality faded once more, becoming dimmer and weaker. When Wu Dao's true body sensed this change, he executed the soul-searching technique directly. Poof! True enough. The moment the soul-searching technique descended, the essence spirit of the Lord of the Witch World shattered into a few pieces, gradually turning into nothingness and dissipating into the world. He did not obtain any information. Look over there. Seemingly sensing something, Dai Yu pointed at the collapsed Underworld Witch Peak below. The gaze of Wu Dao's true body shifted. Among the scattered mountain, there were some marks carved on the stone walls. When pieced together, they formed drawings. Those drawings seemed to be describing the origin of the witch race. One could determine that one of them was the arch-dark magus who created the witch world. A group of cultivators knelt beneath him. Initially, those cultivators looked no different from ordinary humans. However, as the arch-dark magus imparted his Tao, the bodies of those cultivators gradually transformed. Their eyes gradually turned dark green, and they became the original witch race. Chapter 3090. Looking at the patterns on the broken stone walls, Wu Dao's true body was deep in thought. Dai pondered and said, in other words, the witch race is not a race born from heaven and earth, but transformed from humans. According to the guidance of these patterns, that was indeed the case. Dai continued, if the witch race of the 3,000 worlds was created by the imperial Lord Ming Magus, how did the witch race of Tianhuang mainland evolve? Wu Dao's true body said, this proves one thing. Perhaps the imperial Lord Ming Magus is not the source of the witch race's birth. Could the source be the master that the Lord of the witch world mentioned earlier? Dai said, if there's really such a person who can create the witch race and even control the entire witch world, how strong is he? Could he be an emperor? It's hard to say. Wu Dao's true body said, the forbidden skill on Ming Magus peak earlier was very strong. It far surpassed a peak imperial lord and might have touched the power of an emperor. Up until now, Wu Dao's true body had not fought with an emperor. Although he had fought with the Fiend Master, both parties stopped at the beginning and did not use their full strength. The martial Dao body was unable to determine what level the great emperor's power had reached. Dai said, the words on it are of the same origin as the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra. They should be written by that person. Wu Dao's true body nodded and said, the Hell world calls these words the underworld language. However, I'm guessing that they should be the words of the upper-class world. The Fiend Master and the others should be from the upper-class world. In other words, the words in the Hell Sutra of the 9 Springs should also originate from the upper-class world. There was a high chance that Qinglian originated from the upper-class world as well. That was why similar words appeared in the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra. That was a civilization that belonged to the upper-class world. Dai said, the master of the witch race has not revealed any traces until now. He has hidden himself well. When I attacked earlier, most of my attention was on guarding against him. Wu Dao's true body said, unfortunately, he still did not appear after I killed more than half of the witch race's imperial lords. How did the witch race produce so many imperial lords? It's a little strange, Dai said in a low voice. When Wu Dao's main body heard this, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind as he vaguely caught onto something. One more thing, Dai said, the master of the sorcerer world has died, but the Yin Shang curse and the Yin Shang puppets under his control will not disappear. These Yin Shang puppets don't have the guidance of the master of the witch world. When they lose their minds, it's easy for them to lose control and do anything. Let's go to the flower world first and settle this matter, Wu Dao's main body said. At that time, numerous clansmen of the flower dimension had been infected by nether calamity, and Su Zimo had once deduced that it was very likely that the poison had been spread by the members of the flower dimension. However, this idea was a little bold, and there was no evidence, so he didn't mention it to anyone else. Now that he thought about it, the flower realm expert who spread the poison must have lost his mind and become Yin Sheng's puppet. On the other hand, she'd set up the nether calamity poison only for the sake of allowing the master of the shaman dimension to naturally intervene and seize the opportunity to plant the victory-loathing curse. Of course, the situation in the flower dimension shouldn't be too serious. After all, Su Zimo had once found some hell spring water in the land of day and night and given it to immortal King Yulan, which could resolve some of the crisis in the flower dimension. Thinking that Carefree was still in the flower dimension, Wu Dao's main body didn't hesitate. He tore through the void with Dai and disappeared from the sorcerer world. A few imperial emperors had escaped from the sorcerer world, but their world was shattered and they were nothing to worry about. Dark Sorcerer Peak had been shattered, and the providence of the sorcerer race had been cut off. After this battle, their decline was inevitable. The flower dimension, planet Qinglian, Carefree and Mulian adored each other and followed each other like shadows. They were only short of officially becoming Dao companions. Immortal King Yulan was naturally happy to facilitate this marriage and even wanted to invite Suju over to be a witness. However, ever since Suju escaped from the Blood Ape dimension, there had been no news of her. Her fate was unknown, so Immortal King Yulan didn't mention this matter again. There was quite a commotion in the Dragon dimension, but it had only been a few days, so the news hadn't spread yet. In the past few years, Mulian would occasionally see Carefree sitting alone in a daze. She didn't know what he was thinking about. Although Carefree was still with her and accompanied her every day, Mulian could feel that Carefree had something on his mind. "Are you worried about your master?" On this day, Mulian came to Carefree's side and sat down beside him. She turned her face slightly and asked softly. Carefree shook his head and said, "I'm not worried." Huh. Mulian was slightly stunned. She originally thought that Carefree was occasionally troubled and depressed because of Suju's unknown fate. Carefree said, "Master is definitely fine." After a pause, Carefree lowered his head and said softly, "I just miss Master and Senior Sister." After ascending, the three of them had just reunited. They didn't stay together for long before they separated again. At first, Carefree was with Mulian all day long and was a little carefree. He didn't care about Suzimo and Kitsune and didn't even leave with them. Over the years, he missed the two of them more and more. After all, he was awakened by Suzimo's bloodline and was protected by the Biming family for countless years. He had extremely special feelings for the two of them and was attached to them like family. When he was still an egg, Suzimo wanted to send him to the Biming Sea, but he was very unwilling and refused to leave. Mulian thought for a moment and said, "Your master's whereabouts are unknown and his fate is unknown. Why don't I accompany you to the Sword World to find Taoist Biming?" Carefree's eyes lit up and said, "When are we leaving?" "Now?" Mulian asked with a smile. "All right." Carefree jumped up and prepared to return to his cave abode to pack up and leave immediately. Just as the two of them turned around, they saw two figures standing not far behind them. It was a man and a woman. "Who is it?" Mulian was shocked. When did these two people appear? As a supreme true spirit, she didn't notice at all. In other words, these two were at least Grotto Heaven Kings. It was clear that the two of them were not from the flower world. The man had black hair and wore a cold silver mask. It was clear that he had ill intentions. Although the woman was extremely beautiful, she had an indifferent expression as well. From the corner of her eye, Mulian saw that Carefree beside her was even worse. He shuddered at the sight of the two of them. Mulian's expression was stern as she conjured hand seals and summoned her numinous treasure. Just as she was about to shout, she heard Carefree call out weakly, "Master?" Both of Suzimo's true bodies were considered Carefree's masters. However, each time Carefree caught sight of Wu Dao's true body, he would feel a sense of fear involuntarily. Huh. Mulian was stunned and looked at Carefree in shock. Carefree blinked and shifted his gaze to Dayu. Back then, he had witnessed Dayu's peerless demeanor when she appeared in Tianhuang mainland. "Mistress," Carefree said timidly. Dayu's initially indifferent expression softened slightly as she looked at Carefree with a gentler gaze. She nodded gently and acknowledged. Carefree only smiled and relaxed after receiving that response, lamenting internally, compared to Master, Mistress is clearly much friendlier. Chapter 3091. Master? Masteress? Mulian looked at Xiao Yao in confusion and asked, "Isn't your master fellow Taoist Suju?" Cough cough, Xiao Yao was quick-witted and reacted quickly. He coughed lightly and replied with a serious expression, "She is also my master." This wasn't a lie. Even if Mulian were to pursue the matter in the future, he would still be able to say it with confidence. Mulian's mind turned and her expression changed as she muttered to herself, "I was too nervous and didn't think it through." It was normal for cultivators like them to have one or two masters in their cultivation journey. Xiao Yao's master's aura, cultivation, and attire were all far inferior to Suju's. Furthermore, Suju didn't have a Dao companion. Mulian didn't connect the two of them at all. "Master, Masteress, when did you arrive?" Xiao Yao approached and asked with a smile. Not long ago, Wu Dao's main body looked at Xiao Yao and nodded. When he heard Xiao Yao mention how much he missed him and Kitsune, he felt a sense of warmth in his heart. Yu pondered for a while, then took out a ring and handed it to Xiao Yao. There are some things in this dragon tooth ring, but you need to reach Grotto Heaven Realm to open it. Just as Xiao Yao was about to reach out, he seemed to have thought of something and looked at Wu Dao's main body. After Wu Dao's main body nodded, he received it happily and put it on his finger. The ring was made of a special material that was extremely tough and filled with mysterious patterns. Xiao Yao couldn't sense it right now, but Wu Dao's main body could. The value of this dragon tooth ring didn't lie in the treasures inside. After that, Yu beckoned to Mu Lian. Mu Lian quickly stepped forward and bowed towards Wu Dao's main body and Yu, bowing. Junior Mu Lian greets the two seniors. This phoenix bone hairpin is for you as a small greeting gift. Yu then took out a sparkling red jade hairpin and handed it to Mu Lian. A phoenix bone hairpin meant that it was made from the bones of a divine phoenix. It was clear how precious this hairpin was. This gift is too precious, Mu Lian hurriedly declined. Take it. Mistress gave it to us. Xiao Yao helped Mu Lian take it and put it in her hair. It was unknown whether it was because she was shy in her heart or because of the reflection of the jade hairpin, but Mu Lian's face was bright red, tender, and alluring. Mu Lian guessed that Xiao Yao's mistress wouldn't give her this gift just because it was the first time they met. It was also because of her relationship with Xiao Yao. Seniors, I'll go get master. You two can rest here for a while. Mu Lian blushed and excused herself. In her heart, these two were her and Xiao Yao's elders after all. Her elders should also step forward, otherwise, it would be considered rude. After taking a few steps, Mu Lian gently patted her forehead, turned around and asked, I still don't know the names of the two seniors. I'm Araki Takashi. I'm Yu. Oh. Mu Lian responded and repeated it several times in her heart before she turned and left. He seemed to have heard the name Desolate Marshal somewhere before. Flower Realm. Mu Lian went to Immortal King Yulan's cave residence, but didn't find any trace of Immortal King Yulan. Then, she went all the way to 100 Flower Palace and inquired about some news there. Over the years, the Blood Realm repeatedly invaded the Flower Realm and gradually nibbled away the territory of the Flower Realm. If it weren't for the Blood Realm dividing a part of their forces to participate in the Battle of the Dragon and Phoenix, the Flower Realm wouldn't have been able to resist the attack of the Blood Realm at all, and would have been completely annexed long ago. After all, the Flower Realm was only a high-level realm and only had 4 Imperial Emperors. A few days ago, the Lord of the Flower Realm and the other 3 Imperial Emperors led a group of kings to the battlefield of the 2 realms to try to negotiate peace with the Blood Realm. Immortal King Yulan was one of them and had yet to return. Mu Lian could only wait patiently here. This time, the Realm Lord personally came out and is full of sincerity. Do you think this negotiation will succeed? I'm not sure. I heard that the real main force of the Blood Realm is in the Dragon Realm. The Lord of the Blood Realm is supervising the battle there. If the Battle of the Dragon and Phoenix ends and the main force of the Blood Realm returns, we definitely won't be able to resist. There was news a while ago that the Dragon Realm has been defeated repeatedly and can't hold on anymore. The Realm Lord and the others are also aware of this, which is why they want to negotiate as soon as possible. If they wait for the Lord of the Blood Realm to return, they won't have any chance to negotiate. Mu Lian guarded the 100 Flower Hall and listened to the discussions of many of her clansmen. She was also secretly worried about the future of the Flower Realm. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours later, there was still no news. Mu Lian couldn't wait any longer. She prepared to return to planet Qinglian and settle the 2 seniors so that they could stay here for a few more days. At this moment, a violent fluctuation came from the sky above the 100 Flower Hall. The void cracked open and a group of figures fell out one after another, instantly emitting a strong smell of blood. Everyone's expression changed drastically when they saw what was going on. The people who fell in the 100 Flower Hall were the Lord of the Flower Realm and the others. Including the Lord of the Flower Realm, they were more or less injured and looked extremely pale. Realm Lord. Many cultivators of the Flower Realm exclaimed. Mu Lian saw Immortal King Yulan inside at a glance and hurriedly ran over. She shouted with a worried expression, Master, how are you? Seeing Mu Lian, Immortal King Yulan's heart lightened, as if a load had been lifted off her mind. She forced a smile and said, I'm fine. I just fought a few rounds with those people from the Blood Realm. What happened? Didn't the negotiation succeed? Mu Lian asked. Immortal King Yulan sighed and nodded. She said, originally, the negotiation went smoothly. Who would have thought that the Lord of the Blood Realm and the other main forces of the Blood Realm would suddenly return? The Blood Realm immediately turned hostile. If the Lord of the Blood Realm is back, does this mean that the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes is over? Mu Lian asked. It should be. The Dragon Realm is doomed. Immortal King Yulan said, I just don't know what happened to the Blood Realm. As soon as the Lord of the Blood Realm returned, his face was gloomy. I don't know where he was suppressing his anger, but he ordered a full-scale attack to destroy us within 3 days. The Realm Lord saw that the situation wasn't right. Taking advantage of the fact that the other party hadn't formed an encirclement, he hurriedly brought us back. Mu Lian's face was pale. She stood there in a daze, as if she couldn't accept such a big shock. Immortal King Yulan took a breath and said, I've been worried about you since we came back. After all, Planet Qinglian is at the edge of the Flower Realm's territory. Planet Qinglian will bear the brunt of the Blood Realm's full-scale attack. It's very likely that it will be destroyed first. I was relieved to see you in the 100-Flower Palace. Hearing this, Mu Lian seemed to have thought of something and finally reacted. Her expression changed drastically and she cried out involuntarily, Oh no! It's okay. Immortal King Yulan comforted her. We still have some time. We can take the rest of the Flower Realm people and escape from this place. We can avoid the Blood Realm. Mu Lian subconsciously grabbed Immortal King Yulan's arm and said in a trembling voice, Xiaoyao. Xiaoyao is still on planet Qinglian. Huh. Immortal King Yulan frowned and asked, He didn't come with you? No. Mu Lian kept shaking her head with an anxious expression and said, His master and master's wife just came not long ago. Xiaoyao is over there with them. Fellow Taoist Su Zhu? Immortal King Yulan's heart sank and quickly asked. No, Mu Lian said. It's Xiaoyao's other master. He seems to be in the Grotto Heaven realm. Xiaoyao's master's wife is very nice. She even gave us 2 gifts. As she spoke, Mu Lian took off the phoenix bone hairpin on her head. Chapter 3092. It's the phoenix bone hairpin. Xiaoyao is really generous. When Immortal King Yulan heard that Xiaoyao was on Qinglian planet, her heart was in a mess. She glanced at the jade hairpin that Mu Lian took out and didn't think much about it. No matter what, Xiaoyao was Su Zhu's disciple. She trusted her by letting him stay in the Flower Realm. If Xiaoyao died in the Flower Realm, she would feel guilty even if he was killed by the Blood Realm. Not to mention, Xiaoyao and Mu Lian. Mu Lian was burning with anxiety. She grabbed Immortal King Yulan's arm and said, Master, let's go to Qinglian planet now and save Xiaoyao and the people there. I'm afraid. Immortal King Yulan's expression darkened and she sighed. It's too late. Mu Lian heard this and felt as if she was struck by lightning. She gradually loosened her grip on Immortal King Yulan's hand. Her face was pale, and she unconsciously took a few steps back. The rest of the people of the Flower Realm also heard the commotion and looked over. Immortal King Yulan's heart ached when she saw Mu Lian's dejected look. But now, she was at her wit's end and didn't know how to comfort her. Realm Lord, please help. Mu Lian looked helplessly at the Lord of the Flower Realm and begged. Lianer. The Lord of the Flower Realm couldn't bear it, but she still said in a deep voice, If we can save Qinglian planet, we definitely won't give up. After all, there are still many people there, but it's too late. Lianer, you have to cheer up and wake up. We can only give up on those people and try to save as many people as possible. Now, if the Lord of the Flower Realm led everyone to Qinglian planet, they would definitely run into the Blood Realm's army. The Flower Realm couldn't resist the Blood Realm's army at all. Not only would they be wiped out, but the other people of the Flower Realm would also suffer a disaster. Giving up Qinglian planet was cruel, but there was no other choice. When Mu Lian heard this answer, the last glimmer of hope in her heart was shattered. After a while, Mu Lian gradually came back to her senses. Determination flashed in her eyes, as if she had made a decision. She clenched her fists and turned around to leave. Lianer, what are you doing? Immortal King Yulan had been watching Mu Lian's movements. Seeing this, She quickly stepped forward, grabbed her, and scolded her. "Master, please let go." Mu Lian turned around and smiled. "I understand that you are all thinking for the greater good of the flower world, but I want to go to planet Qinglian. Xiao Yao is still there. We once made a promise that we would never leave each other in this life. If today is the end of my life, I am willing to accompany him to the end." When Mu Lian said these words, there was a trace of heroic spirit between her brows, but her eyes were full of gentleness. Everyone present was visibly moved by this. Immortal King Yulan took a deep breath and said, "Come, I'll accompany you back. So what if I die? But before I die, I have to kill at least 2 or 3 Blood Realm kings." At this moment, a figure rushed over and charged into the 100-flower hall. His face was filled with excitement, and his body trembled uncontrollably. This person seemed to want to say something, but because he was too excited and nervous, he just opened his mouth and couldn't say a word. Immortal King Yulan looked at this person from the flower world, and her expression changed. "Why you? Aren't you on planet Qinglian? You escaped from planet Qinglian?" When Mu Lian saw this person, she hurriedly went forward and asked, "How's planet Qinglian?" "Planet Qinglian is fine." Hua Yu took a deep breath, nodded vigorously, and said loudly. Everyone was overjoyed. The Lord of the Flower World quickly asked, "The Blood Realm army didn't invade the Flower World?" "They're here." Hua Yu seemed to recall a terrifying scene and said with lingering fear, "Many people from the Blood Realm came. They covered the sky and covered the earth. They were densely packed like a sea of blood that spread over and engulfed the entire starry sky. Those people from the Blood Realm were all murderous. Their leader was the Lord of the Blood Realm, and there were more than 10 imperial emperors. There were probably 2 or 3,000 kings." Just listening to Hua Yu's simple description, everyone from the flower world felt suffocated and their hearts palpitated. With such an astonishing force, Green Lotus Planet could be drowned out in an instant. And then, Immortal King Yulan asked. Everyone from the flower world was also puzzled. Under such circumstances, how could planet Qinglian be fine? Hua Yu said, "Then, 2 people from planet Qinglian stood up and blocked in front of the Blood Realm army." At this point, Hua Yu paused for a moment before continuing. "I don't know why, but after these 2 people appeared, the Lord of the Blood Realm's expression changed greatly. He suddenly ordered the army to stop immediately. At that time, when we were on planet Qinglian, we heard that the Lord of the Blood Realm seemed to be extremely frightened. He was so frightened that his voice changed. Everyone from the flower world was confused. Who could make the Lord of the Blood Realm's expression change greatly and be so frightened? Many people from the flower world looked at each other and frowned. They looked at Hua Yu with a trace of suspicion. This matter sounded too exaggerated. Just 2 people could make the Lord of the Blood Realm's expression change greatly and suppress hundreds of millions of troops? Continue. The Lord of the Flower World said lightly. She wanted to see how much more nonsense Hua Yu could fabricate. Hua Yu said, when the Lord of the Blood Realm saw the 2 people, he greeted them and was about to lead the army to retreat. Speaking of this, Hua Yu looked at Mulian and said, a fellow cultivator named Carefree complained to the 2 people, saying that it was these people from the Blood Realm who destroyed the Qinglian realm and killed countless people of the Qinglian realm. Mulian's family also died in their hands, and then Hua Yu paused again, wanting to say something but hesitated. Then what? Hearing the news, Mulian couldn't help but ask. Then the purple-robed man of the 2 made his move. As Hua Yu spoke, she gestured and said, just like that, 1 step, 1 punch, 1 punch. More than a dozen imperial emperors of the Blood Realm, including the Lord of the Blood Realm, were all hammered to death by him. Towards the end, Hua Yu felt a little guilty, and her voice gradually weakened. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed that those imperial emperors standing at the peak of the 3,000 realms were like 3-year-old children in front of that purple-robed man. Some cultivators of the Flower Realm couldn't listen anymore and rolled their eyes. Some looked at Hua Yu with a faint smile and shook their heads secretly. Hua Yu, what else can you make up? What's the biggest flaw in this story? Do you know? You make the War of the Emperors sound too simple. You're only at the true spirit realm, so you don't know how terrifying the War of the Emperors is. nor do you know the methods of the imperial emperors. Those imperial emperors, with a wave of their hand, have the power to destroy heaven and earth and release a world to fight against each other. Do you think the war of the imperial emperors is child's play, beating up children and one punch each? Hearing the doubts of the people around her, Hua Yu was a little anxious and quickly said, "It's true. Not only me, but all the people on the Qinglian planet saw it." The Lord of the Flower Realm shook his head slightly and said, "Hua Yu, your description is full of loopholes. The War of the Emperors is not as simple as you think. Besides, when did the Qinglian planet have two experts? Why didn't I know?" End of chapter. Chapter 3093. When she heard Hua Yu mention Xiaoyao, immortal King Yulan glanced at Mulian and thought of Xiaoyao's master and master's wife. However, Hua Yu's description was too exaggerated. She felt that it was a little strange, so she didn't say anything. If there were any experts on Qinglian planet that they didn't know, it should be these two. Immortal King Yulan hesitated and said, "Realm Lord, I heard Mulian mention that Xiaoyao's master and master's wife should be on Qinglian planet. Could the two people Hua Yu mentioned be, Xiaoyao's master can kill an imperial emperor with one punch?" The Flower Realm Lord asked with a smile. Immortal King Yulan was speechless. She heard Mulian say that those two might be Grotto Heaven Kings. Even if Mulian was wrong, those two were imperial emperors, and it was impossible for them to kill an imperial emperor with one punch. The Flower Realm Lord said, "There's another loophole in this matter. The Blood Realm is a super realm. Who in the 3,000 realms would dare to be so ruthless to the Blood Realm? Just because the Qinglian realm was destroyed and Mulian's family was killed, more than a dozen imperial emperors of the Blood Realm were killed. Even if there is such a powerhouse, I'm afraid the Qinglian realm and Mulian can't invite him." But Hua Yu wanted to explain. The Flower Realm Lord waved her hand and interrupted her. She asked casually, "If there is such a powerhouse, we must have heard of it. What is Xiaoyao's master called?" Mulian whispered. "He said that his name is Araki Takashi." "Araki Takashi? It sounds familiar." Hiss. The Flower Realm Lord was smiling and speaking casually, but she suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. Her voice stopped abruptly, and the smile on her face froze. The expressions of the other three imperial emperors changed drastically. The Flower Realm Kings, who were still chatting and laughing, seemed to have thought of something. They instantly shut their mouths and looked at each other with bewildered expressions. Mulian was beside immortal King Yulan. She could clearly feel that after she said the name of Xiaoyao's master, immortal King Yulan's delicate body trembled slightly. The rest of the people from the flower world noticed that the four imperial emperors and the kings were acting strangely, and they gradually stopped talking. They were somewhat confused. The hall became so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Even the breathing of the crowd became much lighter, as if they were afraid of disturbing something. "Is this Araki Takashi very powerful?" Mulian realized something and asked in a low voice. Immortal King Yulan said slowly, "If it's really that person, then the scene Hua Yu described just now might be true." Xiaoyao's teacher was so strong? Mulian's heart trembled when she heard this. It should just be the same name, right? A flower world's imperial monarch broke the silence and asked hesitantly. Another imperial emperor said, "There are countless living beings in the 3,000 worlds. There should be more than one person called Araki Takashi." Yes. Hua Yu suddenly thought of something and said, "After that person killed over a dozen imperial emperors, he said something to the army of the Blood Realm. If any of you want revenge, I'll be waiting for you." Hearing this, the Flower Realm Master and the others were secretly shocked. Could it be that it was the Araki Takashi of the Great Desolate Domain? Perhaps only the Araki Takashi could say such words. And then, the Flower Realm Master asked. Hua Yu said, "The people of the Blood Realm were already scared out of their wits. After hearing this, who would dare to provoke him? They immediately fled in all directions and were utterly defeated." After that, the two of them took Xiaoyao back to the Green Lotus planet as if nothing had happened. I immediately ran over to report it. Reporting, at this moment, another message came from outside the door. Then, A flower realm true spirit quickly ran over. I just received news from the dragon realm. The flower realm true spirit panted and said, when the final battle between the dragons and the phoenixes was about to begin, great desolate domains Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress suddenly appeared and facilitated a ceasefire between the two sides. The dragons were saved from extinction, and the hundreds of worlds in the Wudong realm also withdrew their troops and dispersed. When everyone heard this news, their bodies trembled. The war between the dragons and the phoenixes had lasted for thousands of years, and hundreds of worlds of all sizes were deeply involved. Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress had appeared and settled the war? A Flower Realm Imperial Monarch could not help but ask. The Wudong realm was about to win, and the allied army of hundreds of worlds retreated just like that? Not really. The Flower Realm True Spirit said. It said that Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi gathered more than 100 Imperial Monarchs from the Wudong realm together. After a secret discussion, more than 10 Imperial Monarchs died, and the others agreed. The Flower Realm Master and the others were shocked when they heard this. What kind of secret discussion was this? More than 10 Imperial Monarchs died in an instant. The Flower Realm True Spirit continued. Moreover, it said that this war between the dragons and the phoenixes was caused by the Witch Realm and the Poison Realm using the Nether Calamity Poison and the Yen Shang Curse. The Poison Realm Master was killed by Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi on the spot. I heard that the Dragon Realm, the Wudong Realm, and the other realms were very grateful to Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi. However, Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress did not stay there. They left after that. No one knows where they went. It's not that we don't know where they went. They might be with us now. The Flower Realm Master muttered softly. Mulian was stunned when she heard this. Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi was Xiaoyao's master? The Flower Realm Master seemed to have thought of something. She turned to look at Mulian and asked in a deep voice, what did Xiaoyao's master and master's wife wear? Mulian said, Xiaoyao's master has black hair and a purple robe. He wears a silver mask and looks a little cold. Before Mulian finished speaking, the Flower Realm Master hurriedly stepped forward and covered her mouth. She whispered, you can't say such things casually. Hearing black hair, purple robe, and silver mask, the Flower Realm Master and the others were certain that the one on the Qinglian planet was Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi of the Great Wasteland Domain. Mulian blinked. After the Flower Realm Master let go of her hand, she continued, that master's wife wears a blood-red robe. She's very beautiful and is also very nice. She's very kind and amiable. The corners of the Flower Realm Master and the other Imperial Monarch's mouths twitched. Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi had only risen in recent years. However, the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress had been famous for a long time and was extremely powerful. She was once invincible in the 3,000 realms. Wherever she went, the Imperial Monarchs would be afraid to avoid her. They had met the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress once. In front of her, they did not even have the courage to attack. In the 3,000 realms, there were many comments about the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress, but there was no amiable. Immortal King Yulan suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Mulian. Let me take a look at the jade hairpin that the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress gave you. Mulian handed over the phoenix bone hairpin again. Immortal King Yulan took it and scanned it with her divine sense. She was so shocked that her hand trembled, and the jade hairpin fell to the ground. What's wrong, master? Mulian hurriedly went forward to pick it up. This gift is extremely precious. Keep it well. Immortal King Yulan said with a complicated expression. Mulian said, I know. This is a hairpin forged from the bone of a divine phoenix. It's very beautiful. Immortal King Yulan could not help but say, that's not an ordinary divine phoenix bone, but the bone of an imperial monarch of the divine phoenix clan. Even I don't dare to touch the restrictions left on it. There are also those inside. Immortal King Yulan did not want to continue. There were many rare treasures in this phoenix bone hairpin. Even she was envious of it. Chapter 3094. No wonder the Lord of the Blood Realm's face was ashen after he returned and attacked us like a madman. An emperor said, "So it's because he suffered a huge setback in the dragon realm and returned empty-handed. He's holding back his anger." Another emperor said, "I didn't expect that after he returned, he would actually bump into Araki Takashi on the Qinglian planet. I guess the Lord of the Blood Realm never dreamed that he would be killed because of a true spirit's complaint. The cycle of the heavenly Tao, retribution is not good. When he destroyed the Qinglian realm a few years ago, he was destined to face this calamity." Everyone from the Flower Realm sighed. Little Lian, the Lord of the Flower Realm, looked at Mulian with eyes full of love. She said gently, "What else did Xiaoyao's master and master's wife say to you?" Mulian was originally a supreme true spirit. The Flower Realm valued her greatly and thought highly of her potential. But that was all. After today's matter, the many kings of the Flower Realm present, including the Lord of the Flower Realm and the 4 emperors, had to be polite to Mulian. They couldn't put on the airs of an elder. Xiaoyao had only complained to Araki Takashi, and more than 10 emperors from the Blood Realm had died. Mulian and Xiaoyao had such a relationship. In addition, the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress had casually given Mulian such a precious gift. Mulian's status in the Flower Realm could be said to have skyrocketed. Mulian's significance to the Flower Realm was not just a supreme true spirit. She was the only bridge to communicate with Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress. The Lord of the Flower Realm wanted nothing more than to snatch Mulian over and make her become her disciple. Nothing much. Mulian said, "I just wanted them to rest here for a while. I came to find Master and ask Master to accompany them." "Yes, yes." The Lord of the Flower Realm nodded and said, "Let's go together." Then, the Lord of the Flower Realm hesitated and said, "Isn't it a little presumptuous for us to go over like this? After all, Xiaolian, why don't you go and ask Emperor Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress if they agree to let us pay them a visit?" Immortal King Yulan said, "Those 2 seniors have helped the Flower Realm overcome its crisis, so it's only right for us to go and thank them." "You're right." The Flower Realm Lord nodded. That being said, the Flower Realm Master and the others were still a little nervous when they thought about how they were about to see Emperor Araki Takashi, who had suppressed the Celestial Tribute Realm and ended the battle between the dragons and the phoenixes. It took them a full hour to get everything ready before they set off. Planet Qinglian. The Flower Domain Lord didn't dare to directly descend on Qinglian Planet. Instead, she came to a nearby location. As soon as he emerged from the spatial tunnel, he saw the blood-stained battlefield not far away. Dozens of corpses floated in a pool of blood in the void. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have dared to imagine that these corpses were peak powerhouses of the 3,000 realms just an hour ago. Everyone arrived in front of Qinglian Planet. The Flower Realm Lord took a deep breath and said loudly, "I'm Hua Luo. I'm sorry for disturbing you." Yulan, Xiaolian, and a few other clansmen pay their respects to Emperor Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress. "Come over." After a short silence, a voice came from Qinglian Planet. The Flower Realm Lord and the others felt relieved, and their faces were filled with joy. Everyone descended on Qinglian Planet. Under Mulian's lead, they arrived in front of Carefree's cave residence and walked in. Carefree's cave residence was extremely spacious. After a few steps, their eyes suddenly opened up. Facing the direction of the crowd, there were 2 cultivators sitting side by side, a man and a woman. The man had black hair, a purple robe, a silver mask, and deep eyes. The woman wore a blood-red robe and looked indifferent as she calmly looked at everyone. Hua Luo greets Emperor Araki Takashi and the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress. The Flower Realm Lord and the others hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. "Thank you for your help this time, fellow Taoists. You saved the Flower Realm from a catastrophe." "It's nothing." Wu Dao's main body waved his sleeves and helped everyone up. He said casually, "It's just a small matter." Everyone from the Flower Realm felt their scalps go numb. Killing more than 10 emperors with just a small matter, Carefree was sitting below Wu Dao's main body. After seeing Mulian, his face was filled with joy and he waved at her. Mulian stood in the crowd and was a little hesitant. After all, with so many seniors of the Flower Realm around, she didn't dare to rashly step forward. At this moment, Dayu looked at her and nodded slightly. Come and sit. Thank you, Senior. Mulian hurriedly thanked and went forward to sit with Carefree. Fellow Taoist Yulan, sit as well. Wu Dao's main body turned and looked at Immortal King Yulan. Immortal King Yulan immediately felt flattered. Then, she looked at Mulian and thought to herself, I'm really basking in my disciple's glory. Then, Wu Dao's main body looked at the Flower Realm Lord and said, You should have heard the news about the battle between the dragons and phoenixes. Yes. The Flower Realm Lord and the others hurriedly nodded. Wu Dao's main body took out a jade pot and gently pushed it in front of the Flower Realm Lord and the others. The spring water inside can remove the Yin Shang curse. As for who in the Flower Realm is cursed, I'll leave it to you to investigate. This was also one of the reasons why the Flower Realm Lord wanted to meet Wu Dao's main body. She didn't expect it to go so smoothly. The Flower Realm Lord also knew how powerful the Yin Shang curse was. She took out some from the jade pot and distributed it to the people around her. First, she made sure that the surrounding imperial emperors and kings were not cursed before checking them one by one. Immortal King Yulan looked at Wu Dao's main body and Dayu and said with a smile, I just heard that Qinglian planet was in danger. Mulian ran over desperately and wanted to die with Xiaoyao. Even I couldn't stop her. Fortunately, the two of you helped. Dayu nodded and said, I heard him mention that Mulian is famous for being chivalrous and is very loyal. Immortal King Yulan was slightly stunned. The him that the Blood Butterfly Demon Empress was referring to was Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi. Imperial Emperor Araki Takashi had heard of Mulian? Immortal King Yulan didn't think too much about it. After pondering for a while, she said, Since the two seniors are also here, and these two children are in love with each other, why don't the two of you make the decision to let them get married as soon as possible? Dayu turned her head and looked at Wu Dao's main body. It's good to get married as soon as possible. Wu Dao's main body gently knocked on the table and said, However, without Xiaoyao's clansmen at the wedding, it's still a little lacking. Xiaoyao, I'll send you back to the Kuan realm. Xiaoyao, who was originally making love with Mulian, was shocked when he suddenly heard this. Immortal King Yulan also hurriedly said, Senior, previously, there was a Kuan the Arch who wanted to devour Xiaoyao's bloodline. After being rescued, he temporarily hid in the Flower Realm. If you send him back to the Kuan realm, I'm afraid. Wu Dao's main body said, With me around, he doesn't need to hide. Immortal King Yulan was stunned and immediately reacted. That was right. With such a powerful backer, Xiaoyao could do whatever he wanted in the 3,000 realms. Who would dare to touch him? The Flower Realm Lord said, As far as I know, the Kuan and Peng realms are still fighting. Wu Dao's main body said indifferently, The Kuan-Peng War can also stop. It was very likely that the Kuan-Peng War was instigated by the witch race. Even without Xiaoyao, Wu Dao's main body planned to appear and settle this war. Chapter 3095. A month later, news spread like wildfire, causing a huge commotion in the 3,000 realms. Thousands of races were in an uproar. Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai appeared together to quell the battle between the dragons and phoenixes. Then, they destroyed the Dark Witch Peak and killed dozens of Emperor Realm experts of the Witch World. The Witch World's strength was greatly reduced. The Blood World attacked the Flower World and was stopped by Emperor Araki Takashi. The Blood World Lord and dozens of Blood World Emperors died, and the rest returned in defeat. Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai appeared again to quell the battle between the Kuan-Peng World. Under the two of them, the Kuan-Peng World and the Kuan-Peng World merged into a new superworld, the Kuan-Peng World. It was jointly controlled by the Kuan World and the Peng World's World Lord, and a young master was chosen. Legend had it that he was the disciple of Emperor Araki Takashi. Not long after, the Kuan-Peng World's young master got married. His Tao partner was a supreme true spirit of the Flower World. Many worlds were invited, and it was an unprecedentedly grand occasion. Because the Voodoo World and Poison World were secretly causing trouble, the Dragon World and the Phoenix World started a war. The Wudong World, Dragon World, and more than 100 other worlds attacked the Voodoo World and Poison World. The Witch World was destroyed. The poison world's vitality was greatly damaged, and its losses were disastrous. The original Dragon World Lord and 2 Dragon Emperors died in the Poison World. The Dragon World changed masters. The Blood World and Poison World changed masters. These news were like huge rocks falling on the surface of a lake, stirring up thousands of waves. The weight of each piece of news was enough to cause a huge uproar in the 3,000 realms. Now that these news had spread in an extremely short period of time, the impact could be imagined. The 3,000 realms were about to change. Sword World. The old man with the iron crown and the fat and thin old men sat around a wooden table, sipping tea with relaxed expressions. The Kuren Pong World sent an invitation. How about it? Let's go and take a look. The old man with the iron crown pointed at a wedding invitation on the table and asked with a smile. The fat old man took a sip of tea and said, "The Kuren Pong World and Kuren Pong World ceasefire is already considered big news." The skinny elder said, "I heard that apart from Monarch Araki Takashi and demonic Empress Shuedai, Monarch Araki Takashi's disciple has the Kuren Pong bloodline and is showing signs of atavism." The fat elder nodded and said, removing the Yin Shang curse and recovering his mind. The strong cultivators of the Kuren and Pong realms naturally know how precious the Kuren Pong bloodline is. Speaking of which, we don't have to personally attend the wedding of the Kuren Ping realm's young master. We can just send the celestial kings over. But, the old man with the iron crown said, "I really want to use this opportunity to meet Emperor Araki Takashi and pay him a proper visit." When Emperor Araki Takashi was mentioned, the old man's eyes were filled with admiration. The fat old man also nodded and said emotionally, "Quelling the disaster of the voodoo poison and quelling the war between the Dragon Realm and the Phoenix Realm and the Kuren Pong world that had lasted for thousands of years. Who knows how many innocent living beings were saved? Everything is a meritorious deed." The old man with the iron crown said, "Although Emperor Araki Takashi has not become a great emperor, he already has the demeanor and responsibility of an ancient great emperor. Only he is worthy of a peerless great empress like demonic Empress Shuedai." The skinny elder said, "After the 2 of them appeared together, they disappeared. They were in the Dragon Realm one moment and in the next, they were in the Witch Realm the next. I just don't know if I have the chance to see them this time. It's fine even if I can't see the 2 of them. At least I can see Zemo." The old man with the iron crown laughed. "Oh?" The fat and thin elders were delighted and hurriedly asked, "Is there news of Zemo?" Haha. The old man with the iron crown stroked his beard and laughed. "Actually, in the war between the Dragon Realm and the Phoenix Realm some time ago, Zemo publicly appeared and went on a killing spree. He killed more than 1,000 kings of the Tomb Realm Alliance army alone. He's that strong?" The fat and thin elders were shocked. That was more than 1,000 Grotto Heaven kings. The old man with the iron crown continued, "If it were any other time, news of such a shocking battle would definitely spread throughout the 3,000 realms. However, Emperor Araki Takashi and the demonic Empress Shuedai appeared and settled the war between the Dragon Realm and the Phoenix Realm with a casual move. As such, no one mentioned Zemo's battle anymore. All these years, I've been investigating Zemo's news, and that's how I found out about this." The fat and thin elders nodded. Compared to the news of the witch poison, the war between the Dragon Realm and the Phoenix Realm, the war between the Kuren Pong Realm and the merger of the Kuren Pong Realm, Zemo's battle was only a battle between kings after all. It seemed insignificant and the news did not spread much. After knowing that Su Zemo was fine, the fat and skinny old men finally felt relieved and were relieved. "Why are we drinking tea for such a joyous occasion? Come, let's drink." The fat old man took out 3 jars of good wine and placed them in front of the old man with the iron crown and thin elder with a smile on his face. "Right." The old man with the iron crown said, "Dark North said that she has to attend the wedding of the young master of the Kuren Pong realm. She even said that the young master is her junior brother." Ah. The fat old man did not understand and was stunned for a moment before asking, "Isn't the young master of the Kuren Pong realm the disciple of Emperor Araki Takashi?" The old man with the iron crown said, "Dark North said that they once acknowledged Zemo as their master as well." "There's such a thing?" The fat old man smiled and said, Zimo's luck is really bad. He's already considered a monster that's rarely seen in history. In the end, he encountered a figure like Emperor Desolate Marshal in this lifetime. His brilliance was completely overshadowed. That's already not bad, the old man with the iron crown said. If Zimo is given enough time to grow, he might be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Emperor Araki Takashi in the future. Let's go. We'll prepare some gifts before we leave. The old man with the iron crown kept the invitation and stood up. He looked into the distance with a trace of anticipation in his eyes. He muttered softly, I hope I have the chance to meet Emperor Araki Takashi this time. In less than a day, under the lead of the old man with the iron crown, the fat old man, and the thin old man, the group from the Sword Realm had already arrived at the Kuan Pong Realm. The Kuan Pong Realm and the Kuan Pong Realm had been fighting for years. Although they had expended a lot of energy, they were still super realms after all. After the two realms merged, their strength was even stronger than before. Their territory had expanded by several times. Before the Sword Realm arrived, there were already experts from many realms present. Blood Ape Realm, Dragon Realm, Wudong Realm, Flower Realm, Light Realm. There were even some realms that had realm lords leading teams to personally congratulate them. In fact, even if the Kuan Pong Realm merged, the realm lords of the Kuan Pong Realm and the Kuan Pong Realm would not have such great influence. The reason why so many realm lords came to congratulate them was mainly because it was rumored that the young master of the Kuan Pong Realm was the disciple of Emperor Araki Takashi. Moreover, these experts also wanted to take this opportunity to meet Emperor Araki Takashi and Demon Empress Shuedai. What? The two of them are not here? The old man with the iron crown asked. The realm lord of the Kuan realm said, They are an immortal couple. They traveled around and sent Xiaoyao back. They didn't stay for long before leaving. We couldn't keep them. Xiaoyao, come and greet the seniors of the Sword Realm. The realm lord of the Kuan realm called out. Xiaoyao and Mulian went forward and bowed. Compared to before, Xiaoyao's temperament had changed a lot. He already had the bearing of a young master. As he looked around, he had a dignified aura. However, after seeing Kitsune, Xiaoyao returned to his obedient appearance. He pulled Mulian forward and smiled as he shouted, Senior sister, where's master? Kitsune asked through voice transmission. You mean? Xiaoyao quickly understood and said, Master and mistress seem to have gone to the witch realm. Chapter 3096. The Witch World. Blood, corpses, broken halberds and swords. It was a scene of devastation and devastation. Everywhere was the withered and lifeless state of the battle. After the attack of the armies of more than 100 worlds, including Wudong World and Dragon World, the Witch World was completely destroyed. Even the witches who were lucky enough to survive had long fled. Not a single person could be seen in the vast territory. Suddenly, the void split open and two figures descended, looking around. What did you find? Dayu asked. Wu Dao's original body spread out his spirit consciousness and closed his eyes for a long time before shaking his head. In Kuan Pong World, Wu Dao's original body found out that the Witch World was destroyed in a day and found Realm Lord Wudong and the others to ask. Although the Lord of the Witch World and more than 30 emperors were killed by him, 9 emperors still escaped. Furthermore, Wu Dao's original body only destroyed Ming Wu Peak and did not search the other territories of the Witch World. After all, the Witch World was a super world. It was possible that there were reclusive emperors of the witch race in other territories. Furthermore, there were many kings of the witch race. It was still difficult to destroy the entire witch world in a day. After all, the war between the Dragon World and the Phoenix had been fought for thousands of years and Dragon World had not been destroyed. Then, he obtained an important piece of news from Realm Lord Wudong and the others. When they arrived with their army, the few emperors and kings of the witch race had almost all retreated. There were many remaining witches, but their realms were not high. Facing the attack of the armies of Wudong World and the other worlds, they could not resist. The entire witch world was almost empty. The armies of Wudong World and the other worlds marched in with irresistible force. That was why they could destroy the witch world in a day. Where did the remaining emperors and kings of the witch race go? The witch world was leaderless. It was not easy to gather the emperors and kings of the witch race in the chaos. It required extraordinary means. However, the emperors and kings of the witch race left as if they had disappeared into thin air. Even Wu Dao's original body did not find any traces. Wu Dao's original body and Dai Yu vanished into the void. When they reappeared, they were already above Mingwu Peak. Wu Dao's true body moved and covered the entire territory of the Magi. He gathered the wandering remnant souls and used the soul-searching technique. These remnant souls had no intelligence, and their masters had long since died. It was only because of various reasons, such as resentment and obsession, that a remnant soul would wander about. Wu Dao wanted to use the memory fragments of these remnant souls to piece together what had happened after he left the sorcerer world. He wanted to find some clues. Scenes were projected in the void and presented to Wu Dao and Dai Yu. However, the images came from the soul fragments. They were all fragmented and chaotic. Most of the memory fragments did not contain any useful information. Time passed slowly. After an unknown period of time, the image in the void suddenly paused. In that short memory fragment, they could see a cultivator in soapy robes descending on Ming Wu Peak not long after the two of them left the witch world. It was also this person who tried to gather the emperors and kings of the witch world. However, the face of the black-robed Taoist priest was shrouded in a layer of fog, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. When Wu Dao's original body and Dai Yu tried to clear the fog, the image seemed to be unable to withstand it and suddenly shattered into nothingness. The master behind the witch race? Dai Yu asked. Wu Dao's original body pondered for a moment and shook his head. I don't think so. If that master wanted to move the emperors and kings of the witch race away given his control over the witch race, there was no need for him to go through so much trouble and make a trip personally. Dai Yu asked, then who could it be? Apart from him, who else would have the means to take away the experts of the witch race without leaving any traces? The patriarch of the academy. Wu Dao's original body said slowly. It's him? Dai Yu frowned. Wu Dao's original body said, the patriarch of the academy is half of the witch race to begin with and is extremely familiar with the witch race. He has sufficient motives. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely not have the chance to enter the witch world and take over so many experts of the witch race. However, the death of the lord of the witch world and the other emperors gave him a rare opportunity to ascend the throne. The patriarch of the academy was extremely ambitious. Ever since he suffered a huge loss in the hands of Wu Dao's original body, he had been in seclusion for the past few years without any news. However, he would definitely not miss out on an opportunity. From that, it could be deduced that the patriarch of the academy's cultivation realm was most likely at greater or even perfected emperor realm. Wu Dao's original body continued. Furthermore, only the patriarch of the academy would have such scheming, wisdom, and methods. I've heard that the patriarch of the academy can see through the secrets of the heavens and plans meticulously. Today, I've seen it for myself. Dai Yu said, when you and I left the witch world, the armies of the Wudong world and other worlds arrived later. The interval between this was less than a day. In other words, in less than a day, he successfully took over the witch world, gathered the emperors and kings of the witch world and escaped without leaving any traces. This matter seemed simple, but in reality, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens and was filled with unpredictable dangers. Firstly, the patriarch of the academy had to have a clear grasp of the movements of the dragon world, Wudong world, and Wu Dao's original body. That was because he had less than a day left. Secondly, the patriarch of the academy also had to have extraordinary methods to suppress the remaining experts of the witch race and successfully enter the witch world. Furthermore, this matter was extremely dangerous. With a thought, Wu Dao's original body could descend to any place in the 3,000 worlds. Naturally, he could return and block him. If anything went wrong, the patriarch of the academy might be doomed eternally. Good method. Wu Dao's original body also nodded and said, the timing is just right. However, the witch race he took over were all kings of the witch race. Even if there were 9 emperors of the witch race, the world was shattered by me, and they won't be able to do much. To Wu Dao's original body, The patriarch of the Academy's schemes were indeed powerful. However, to him, it was nothing to be afraid of. As long as he was around, the patriarch of the Academy would not dare to appear publicly, let alone provoke him and Qinglian's original body. This time, the patriarch of the Academy took a huge risk. Dai pondered and said, according to the master of the witch world, he has a master behind him. It's probably not that easy for the patriarch of the Academy to successfully take over the experts of the witch world. At the very least, he has to pass through that master. Who is this master of the witch race? Do you have any clues? Dai asked again. I have a guess, but I'm not sure yet. Wu Dao's original body pondered and said, let's head to the poison world to take a look. I wonder if there are any clues to confirm this guess. With that said, Wu Dao's original body and Dai disappeared into the void once more. Chapter 3097. The Kuan-Pong World. The two world lords of the Kuan-Pong world were holding a banquet in the main hall. The guests were all world lords and imperial emperors. The side halls on both sides were relatively more casual. There were heavenly abode kings, true spirit realm experts, and 7 or 8 good friends. The peak masters of the sword world, Yun Ting, and the others were gathered together. Baiming Shui, Long Ran, the monkey, Nian Shi of the light world, and the other old friends of Heaven Wasteland gathered at the same table. When Carefree and Mulian were free, they would also come and sit with them, reminiscing and talking about the past. It was not easy for these old friends of Tianhuang region to have such an opportunity to gather together after ascending. Unfortunately, some old friends of Tianhuang region were missing. Under Xiao Yao's insistence, Su Zimo obtained a chance to enter the forbidden grounds of the Kuan-Pong world for seclusion. Now, he was breaking through the barrier and had not appeared yet. On the other side, Yun Ting seemed to be troubled and looked at Kitsune and the others from time to time. A moment later, Yun Ting seemed to be unable to hold back and came to Kitsune's side. He asked softly, why hasn't fellow Taoist Su come out yet? Master is in seclusion. Kitsune seemed to have sensed something and asked, what's the matter? Yun Ting hesitated and said, I have something to talk to him about. Right then, Su Zimo entered the main hall with a smile. He cupped his fists and walked towards Kitsune and the others. The Hornless Dragon King and the others could not help but be shocked when they saw Su Zimo. At that moment, Su Zimo had already reached the greater mastery of the Grotto Heaven realm. It had only been slightly more than a month since Su Zimo entered the Grotto Heaven realm. That cultivation speed was terrifying. Of course, the forbidden grounds of the Kuan-Pong world played a crucial role. The forbidden ground was called a space. It was like a broken space fragment that originated from the vast thousand domains. In this forbidden area, the flow of time was extremely fast. All living beings below the martial emperor realm could sense that change. A day outside was equivalent to 100 years in the forbidden ground of the Kuan-Pong. Of course, there were many restrictions to cultivating in the forbidden ground of the Kuan-Pong. The longer one cultivated, the greater the rejection of cultivators. Furthermore, every living being only had one chance to cultivate inside. Since ancient times, even the most talented kings of the Kuan and Pong realms could not last more than 10 days in there. And Su Zimo obtained this opportunity. Relying on the bloodline of the grade 12 Qinglian, he stayed inside for an entire month. This was equivalent to him spending 3,000 years inside. Su Zimo's 5 small caves were all condensed from the Tao of forbidden mystic scriptures. Some of them even had 2 forbidden mystic scriptures as their foundation. After the battle outside Torch Dragon Planet, he had obtained a large number of Grotto Heaven fragments. The 5 Grotto Heavens worked together to absorb and refine the Grotto Heaven fragments. Furthermore, the speed at which the 5 small Grotto Heavens absorbed the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was terrifying. It was as if they were violently plundering the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. The accumulation of time, the enormous amount of heaven and earth Yuan Qi, as well as the numerous fragments of the paradise, allowed Su Zimo to take another step forward in his cultivation and become a peerless king. Yun Ting was stunned for a moment when he caught sight of Su Zimo as well. His cultivation speed was already fast enough. To think that the gap between the two of them would only widen when they met again. However, before long, Yun Ting recalled the important matter and hurried forward. He handed Su Zimo a voice transmission talisman and said, "My sister sent this to me. Listen to it." Su Zimo received it, and with a single thought, a familiar voice entered his mind. Before long, Su Zimo's expression darkened and his gaze turned cold. "Master, something happened?" Kitsune sensed the change in Su Zimo's expression and asked softly. Long Ran reeked of alcohol and shouted, "Zimo, what happened? Tell us, there are no outsiders here." Monkey, Carefree, Nian Chi, and the others looked over as well. Su Zimo said, "There's news of Night Spirit?" When Monkey heard that, his eyes lit up and he could not help but grin. "That's good news." Long Ran was a little drunk and his face was flushed as he said with widened eyes. The others remained silent, knowing that the matter was not that simple. There must be something else going on. Su Zimo said, "Xiaoning is in the Crimson Heaven Immortal region of the Heaven Realm. Night Spirit is with her. However, they fell out with Crimson Heaven Palace and are being hunted down by them." Bang! Monkey could not help but slam the table and stand up. His eyes were bloodshot and murderous. "Damn it!" Long Ran cursed. "What's going on with Crimson Heaven Palace? Are they tired of living? How dare they hunt down Night Spirit in Xiaoning? Are they bullying Tianhuang region because there's no one else?" Kitsune's expression was cold as she stood up slowly. Nian Chi stood up and frowned. "Sister Xiaoning is such a good person. Why can't Crimson Heaven Palace tolerate her?" "We can't tolerate this." Carefree shouted, "Master, you don't have to do anything. I'll flatten Crimson Heaven Palace with my men." Many cultivators and living beings in the surroundings heard the commotion and looked over. The group of people was filled with murderous intent, and each of them had a powerful background. There was the peak master of the sword world, the true spirit of the blood ape world, the goddess of the light world, and the young master of the Kuan Pong world. Who offended them? I'm not sure. I think it's Crimson Heaven Palace. They've really stirred up a hornet's nest. Crimson Heaven Palace, good luck? Some cultivators and living beings discussed in low voices. Yun Ting and the others were shocked. He thought that he was just informing Su Zimo. He did not expect that it would cause such a huge commotion. Monkey asked coldly, "Are they still alive?" "They're fine." Su Zimo had calmed down. "They're safe for now. They're not in any danger. However, they're trapped in Crimson Heaven Immortal region and can't get out for now." Crimson Heaven Palace of the Heaven Realm? Su Zimo suddenly smiled and looked back in the direction of the Heaven Realm. He said slowly, "It's time to go back. Master, when are we leaving?" Carefree asked. Su Zimo shook his head. "Today is your big day. Don't go. That won't do." Carefree insisted. "I've just become the young master of the Kuan Pong world. I'm still worried that I won't be able to show off." "Master, don't stop me." "Who are Night Spirit and Xiaoning?" Mu Lian sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. "Is it worth such a big fuss?" "Night Spirit is my master's sworn brother. Xiaoning is my master's younger sister," Carefree said. "Call some people from the Flower Realm later. It's best if you call the master of the Flower Realm as well." "Ah, that's not necessary, is it?" Mu Lian was shocked. Given her relationship with Su Zimo, it was only natural for her to help. However, it was a bit childish to ask the master of the Flower Realm for help just because they were Su Zimo's sworn brother and sister. "Listen to me. It won't be wrong," Carefree said. Longley said, "I'll call my mother and help fellow Taoist Su fight as well." Long Ran leaned over and whispered, "You can call the master of the Dragon Realm as well to support the situation." "That's unnecessary, right?" Longley was a little puzzled. While Su Zimo had indeed done the Dragon Realm a favor, it was not to the extent where the master of the Dragon Realm had to step in personally. The current master of the Dragon Realm was the master of the Nightmare Dragon King, the Ice Dragon Emperor. Long Ran said meaningfully, "The two people we're saving this time aren't just Zimo's sworn brother and sister." Long Ran thought to himself, "They're also the sworn brother and sister of Emperor Rocky Takashi." Chapter 3098. What? You want to go to the Heaven Domain? Just because something happened to Su Zimo's sister? The two realm lords of the Kuan Pong world looked at Carefree in confusion. Carefree respected his master and valued friendship. Naturally, they admired him. However, there was no need to make such a big fuss just for Su Zimo, right? Although Su Zimo was Carefree's master, he was only a king after all. Now that he had left the sword world, he had no sect. He was just a lone cultivator. Moreover, it was only Su Zimo's sister who was in trouble. Allowing Su Zimo, an outsider, to enter the Kuan Pong Forbidden Land had already caused dissatisfaction among many people. The two realm lords were also very conflicted, but they still agreed to Carefree's request. However, what did Su Zimo's sister have to do with Carefree and the Kuan Pong world? The Kuan realm lord said, "Sending a few kings to accompany him is already giving him enough face." Carefree rolled his eyes and thought, "Does Master need you to give him face? You don't even want it when I'm giving it to you for free. How stupid." "I don't care," Carefree shouted. "I want to go to the heaven domain. It's up to you whether you want to go or not." With that, Carefree turned and left with Mu Lian, leaving the two realm lords on the spot. You're too stubborn." The two realm lords were so angry that they trembled. They pointed at Carefree's back and squeezed out a sentence after a long while. They couldn't scold him, but they didn't dare to hit him. The South Rock realm lord held his chest and sighed bitterly. "Our Kuan Pong world didn't choose a young lord. We chose an ancestor. Go to the heaven domain?" The Frost Dragon Emperor looked at the Hornless Dragon King below and frowned slightly with a trace of doubt. The Hornless Dragon King said, "According to Li Long Ran seemed to be hinting for Master to personally go and help Brother Su. It's not impossible for me to go and help." The Frost Dragon Emperor pondered for a while and said, "However, there are 3 peak emperors in the heaven domain. Their strength is unfathomable. If we mobilize a lot of people, I'm afraid it will cause a realm war and cause the situation to go out of control." Among the 3 peak imperial emperors, one of them is famous for his battle lust and bloodthirstiness. He oversees the demon region. The Chi Dragon King said, "As far as I know, the Crimson Heavens Palace should be in the 9 Firmaments Immortal region." The Frost Dragon Emperor said, "The 9 Heavens Immortal Realm is now under the control of Immortal Emperor Chanmu. Crimson Heaven Palace should be no exception." After pausing for a while, the Frost Dragon Emperor said, "I can step in, but I won't send the Dragon's army to help, so as to avoid a conflict with the Heaven Realm. The Dragon Realm can no longer withstand another realm war." Wu Dao's true body and Dai Yu broke through the void and arrived above the poison world. "I remember you mentioned that the Patriarch of the Academy had just stepped into the Emperor Realm when he schemed against you," Dai Yu suddenly said, "and just now, from the way he took over the Sorcerer world and took away the emperors and kings of the Sorcerer race, he shouldn't be a lesser emperor." "Yes." Wu Dao's true body nodded. "Great Perfection Monarch Realm, or even Great Perfection Monarch Realm. His cultivation speed is so fast?" Dai Yu was a little surprised. The Patriarch of the Academy's wisdom and power of understanding were needless to say. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to comprehend a forbidden technique when he had just stepped into the Emperor Realm. But after stepping into the Emperor Realm, without Origin Stones, Genesis Chi and other scarce cultivation resources, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to break through. It's because he obtained the inheritance of the 3 Purity Jade Booklet. Moreover, he managed to cultivate that forbidden technique. The martial Dao body was not surprised by this and said, "When I fought with him, I saw the 3 Pure One's Chi forbidden technique, but I hadn't stepped into the Emperor Realm at that time, and didn't have the complete 3 Purity Jade Book, so I don't know much about that forbidden technique." The 3 Purity Chi? Dai Yu pondered. The so-called Chi refers to the Genesis Chi at the beginning of Primordial Chi? Wu Dao's true body nodded. To be precise, it's a forbidden technique that evolved from the fusion of the 3 Purity Chi. In other words, the fusion of the 3 Purity Chi will give birth to Genesis Chi? Dai Yu's expression changed, understanding the meaning behind Wu Dao's words. "That's right." Wu Dao's true body nodded. "I gradually comprehended it after I fused the 3 Purity Jade Book. This is the foundation of the 3 Purity Jade Book as a forbidden technique. As a taboo manual, The 3 Purity Jade booklet seemed to be weaker than the other taboo manuals. It didn't have any ultimate killing methods, and it was relatively mediocre compared to the other forbidden techniques. As a forbidden technique, the true strength of the 3 Purity Jade book was that after the fusion of the 3 Purity Chi, it would give birth to the Genesis Chi that Emperor experts lacked the most. 1 Chi into 3 Purity Chi, and 3 Purity Chi as one. Relying on the 3 Purity Jade book, an Emperor's battle strength would not increase too much. But an Emperor who cultivated the 3 Purity Jade book would be at the top in terms of sustained battle strength. No cultivation technique or secret technique could compare to the 3 Purity Jade book in terms of replenishment and endurance for an Emperor expert. No wonder, Dayu said. With the help of the 3 Purity Jade book, with the Academy's Patriarch's talent, it wouldn't be surprising if he cultivated to the perfected Emperor realm. As the two conversed, they had already arrived at the center of the Poison World, the Dark Calamity Star. Who are you? Wu Dao's true body and Dayu did not hide their tracks and directly descended towards the Dark Calamity Star. On the Dark Calamity Star, several Emperor Realm divine senses immediately burst forth and enveloped them, questioning loudly. After all, only one Poison World Lord had died in the Poison World. Although it had been killed by the Wudong World and the other armies, it was still much better than the Witch World. At least the Dark Calamity Star had not suffered much damage. In the face of the questioning of the Poison World Emperors, Wu Dao's true body and Dayu acted as if they did not hear and did not stop at all. How dare you? The Poison World Emperor roared, but did not show himself. He secretly attacked and activated the array on the Dark Calamity Star, wanting to stop Wu Dao's true body and Dayu. Humph. Wu Dao's true body snorted coldly. Poof. One of the Emperor Realm Divine senses that landed on the two of them instantly weakened, and his vitality dissipated. The other Emperor Realm Divine senses were also shattered into pieces. The expressions of the Poison World Emperors changed drastically. With just a light snort, one of the Poison World Emperors died. That blood-robed woman seems to be the Great Wasteland Domain's Blood Butterfly Demon Monarch. Then the person beside her, purple-robed Silver Mask, seems to be the legendary Araki Takashi. Hiss! The Poison World Emperors gasped as their scalps turned numb. Although Emperor Lord Desolate Marshal and the Blood Butterfly Demon Emperor were elusive and their whereabouts were unpredictable, they would definitely cause a huge commotion wherever they went. They did not expect the two of them to come to the Poison World. Don't provoke them. Otherwise, the Poison World will be annihilated. The few Poison World monarchs quickly spread out their divine senses and passed down the order, forbidding anyone from the Poison World from revealing themselves. At the same time, they removed the Great Formation on the Dark Calamity Star, allowing Wu Dao's true body and Dayu to descend. Chapter 3099. A Poison World Emperor frowned slightly as he observed Wu Dao's and Dayu's movements. Judging from the direction they're heading, it seems like they're heading to our Poison World's ancestral ground. Let them go. The strongest poisonous creatures in history are gathered there. Even if they don't die, they'll lose a layer of skin in there. That's right. We'll wait for an opportunity to act. The Poison World Emperors conversed secretly. Under their watchful eyes, Wu Dao's true body and Dayu arrived at the Poison World's ancestral ground, Myriad Poison Cave. Wu Dao's true body scanned the cave with his consciousness. There were countless poisonous insects, poisonous fog, and all sorts of poisonous plants and flowers in the cave. Anyone who stepped into the cave would have to endure at least a few waves of poisonous attacks. Wu Dao's true body continued walking towards Myriad Poison Cave with Dayu. At the same time, a huge door appeared behind him and a torrent of water gushed out into the cave. Hell Spring. It was the bane of all poisonous creatures in the world. As soon as the Hell Spring entered Myriad Poison Cave, the wails of poisonous insects could be heard. Countless poisonous plants and flowers gradually withered and died under the Hell Spring's baptism. The poisonous mist that had filled the Myriad Poison Cave was also cleansed away by the Hell Spring water. The imperial monarchs of the Poison World were stunned when they saw this scene. The myriad poison cave, which had been passed down for countless years, was completely destroyed by Wu Dao's true body with the Hell Spring. What was even more terrifying was that the Hell Spring would seep into the ground and spread to every corner of Dark Calamity Star after entering Myriad Poison Cave. The poisonous plants and flowers on Dark Calamity Star would wither and die after absorbing the Hell Spring. This Hell Spring was equivalent to destroying the foundation of the poison world. Wu Dao's true body and Dai Yu paced around Myriad Poison Cave, spreading their consciousness and patrolling the area. In the depths of Myriad Poison Cave, the two finally saw carvings on the stone walls that seemed to hint at the origin of the poison world. In the last mural, a man could be seen standing proudly, holding a dark flower in his hand. The flower's pollen floated down and fell among the kneeling crowd. Wu Dao's main body and Wu Dao's main body looked at each other, and both of them had the same feeling. The style of these murals was extremely similar to what the sorcerer tribe had seen. The man in the last mural should be the ancestor of the poison world, the legendary wretched poison monarch. Dai Yu pondered and said, according to these murals, the poison world was originally just a bunch of ordinary humans. It was only because they cultivated some poison arts and were nourished by many poisonous creatures that they gradually transformed into poison bodies. This was similar to the origin of the sorcerer tribe. In the beginning, the poison realm cultivators were different from the Protoss and the dragons. They weren't a race born from the heavens and earth, and were gradually transformed from humans. That was the reason why, regardless of whether it was the witch race or the poison world cultivators, their bodies and bloodlines were relatively weak and similar to humans. Have you ever thought about something? Dai Yu suddenly said. What? Wu Dao's true body asked. For example, the Shaman tribe and the Du tribe were all transformed from the human race. Then, how did the human race come into being? How were powerful living beings like the Protoss and the dragons born? Were they born from the heavens and earth, or were they created by some powerful living beings? Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat. Dai Yu's latter thought was way too bold. Furthermore, this question might involve the deepest and most ancient secrets of the universe. Given their current cultivation realms, they might not be able to touch upon it and could only make some guesses. I've had many doubts about the living beings of the 10,000 races, Dai Yu said. For example, dragons are a race that is naturally strong. However, due to certain limitations, they have a huge flaw and can't reproduce well. As a result, there aren't many dragons. Humans are naturally weak, but there are many of them. Furthermore, they are the race with the greatest potential among the 10,000 living beings and can cultivate countless possibilities. Wu Dao's true body nodded. Disregarding everything else, just the number of great ancient emperors from ancient times to the present were mostly humans. Furthermore, Dai Yu continued, most of the time, living beings of the 10,000 races will subconsciously take on the form of humans. All the powerful races such as the Protoss, the Stone race, and even the Devil race like Shura maintain the basic form of humans from the moment they were born. Wu Dao's true body remained silent and merely stared at the small orchid flower in the man's hand on the mural. His gaze was deep as if he was deep in thought. What are you thinking about? Dai Yu asked. The source of the Nether Calamity poison. Wu Dao's true body pointed at the small dark flower on the mural and said, the Nether Calamity poison doesn't seem to be a man-made poison. It's fine and looks more like a type of pollen. There's a high chance that it came from this flower in the Calamity Poison Emperor's hand. Nether Calamity flower? Dai Yu frowned slightly. Wu Dao's true body said, this cave contains all the strange poisons that Luo Gu left today. There's also the Nether Calamity poison. However, there's no flower in it, and its attribute is similar to the Nether Calamity poison. I've just scanned the entire poison world, but I didn't find any traces of the Nether Calamity flower. Dai Yu pondered and said, you mean that the Nether Calamity flower might not be in the 3,000 worlds? Wu Dao's true body nodded. If the Nether Calamity flower did not grow in the 3,000 worlds, it could only be in the 9 heavens, hell, ghost, beast, Shura, and the netherworld. Dai Yu quickly deduced something and said in a deep voice, if it's in those few places, given the methods of the poison world's master, he shouldn't be able to set foot in them. However, The nether calamity poison has reappeared in the 3,000 worlds in this generation. In other words, there should be someone else backing the poison world's master. That's right. Wu Dao's true body nodded. This also confirmed his previous guess. Dayu smiled and said, "This is interesting. There is a mysterious master behind the sorcerer tribe. There is also an expert behind the poison world." Wu Dao's true body said coldly, "Be it the witch or poison world, they are merely pawns of that person." "Where's the nether calamity flower?" Dayu asked. All of a sudden, a thought flashed through Dayu's mind as she replied, "It might be in hell." "Why do you say that?" Wu Dao's true body asked. "Everything in the world has a counter to each other. That's the law of nature," Dayu said. "That's the principle of there being an antidote for anything poisonous within 7 steps. If the hellspring water can neutralize all the strange poisons in the world, there must be a strange poison in the vicinity of the hellspring water." When Wu Dao's true body heard that, he did not hesitate and brought Dayu through the gate of the hell spring and descended into the hell realm's hell spring prison. The two of them flashed once more and arrived beside the hell spring water. Dark flowers grew on both sides of the gurgling hell spring water. They were exactly the same as the ones in the murals of the poison world. The flowers swayed gently and scattered pollen into the hell spring water, disappearing into nothingness. Chapter 3100. Underworld Disaster Flower. The moment he saw the Underworld Disaster Flower, Wu Dao's original body's guess was confirmed. Wu Dao's original body suddenly sensed a message from Qinglian's original body, and his expression changed. Ever since Wu Dao's original body stepped into the martial emperor realm, he could break through the realm barrier at will. Even if he was in hell, his two main bodies could sense each other. "What's the matter?" Dayu asked. Wu Dao's original body said, "Night Spirit and Ning have encountered some trouble." After pausing for a while, Wu Dao's original body suddenly smiled and said faintly, "All right, it's time to have a chat with that person." Wu Dao's original body did not say who it was, but Dayu could roughly guess and knew that it was not a small matter. She had not recovered from her injuries, and if she stayed beside Wu Dao's original body, she might affect Wu Dao's mind. "Send me back to the great wilderness," Dayu said. "I have some enlightenment from my travels these days and can cultivate in seclusion." Heaven Domain, Demon Domain, Heaven Baron Sect. More than 10 ghostly figures descended and broke through various obstacles, silently arriving at Feng Santian's cave abode. No one in the huge Heaven Baron Sect noticed them. Only Skywolf, who was guarding the cave abode's entrance, seemed to have sensed something and narrowed its eyes. It did not see anything unusual and closed its eyes again to rest. Feng Santian's expression changed, and he suddenly opened his eyes. Lightning flashed in his eyes. Hee. One of them was wrapped in a black robe that covered his face and was unusually tall. He laughed strangely and said, "Your senses are quite sharp." "It's you?" Although Feng Santian could not see this person's face, he could guess his identity from his voice. One of the 7 emotions demon generals, Yaksha King of Fear. Those who followed Yaksha King of Fear were all from the Rakshasa race. Apart from Yuluosha, almost all of them were Grotto Heaven Kings. There was even a quasi-emperor among them. This was the first time Yaksha Fear King had appeared in the Heaven Baron sect, since he led the Rakshasa race kings to kill Shirwang and the others. The Yaksha Fear Sovereign had obtained some fortuitous encounters in the 9 Underworld Emperor's secret place and had broken through to Quasi-Emperor. Feng Santian had already reached the Grotto Heaven realm. He was only 1 step away from reaching the complete Grotto Heaven realm. Master sent a message. Yaksha King of Fear briefly told the story of Night Spirit and Ning. Then, the Yasha King of Fear added, "Oh right, when the time comes, we can destroy the Great Jin dynasty and settle the grudge from back then." Feng Santian's eyes lit up. He slowly stood up and looked in the direction of the divine firmament immortal realm. He clenched his fists and said, "This day has finally come. You guys go and prepare first. We have another mission. We have to go to the heaven realm to keep an eye on a few people." Yaksha Fear Monarch called the Rakshasa kings behind him. They tore open the space and disappeared from the cave. Feng Santian walked out of the cave, and looked at Tianlang, who was lying at the door with sleepy eyes. He slowly said, "Pass down the order to prepare for war and head to the Heaven Realm." Tianlang shuddered and was instantly energized. Crimson Heaven Realm, Blue Blood Mountain. A few figures stood at the peak of a mountain. There were both men and women. One of them was wearing plain clothes and had a frown on her face. She looked troubled. She was one of the 3 fairies of the Divine Firmament Immortal Realm, Book Immortal Yunju. There were 2 young men beside Yunju. They were wearing little shirts and had fair skin. They were Momo and Lu Ping. Behind the 3 of them stood an elder in the Grotto Heaven Realm. He had gray hair and a beard. He stood with his hands by his side and remained silent. "Sister Yunju, what should we do?" Momo asked worriedly. Yunju said, "I have already sent a message to my younger brother. As long as this matter reaches your young master's ears, Ning and Night Spirit will definitely be fine." Yunju knew about Suzimo's 2 true bodies. Naturally, she also knew that with Emperor Rocky Takashi's means, he could come to help at any time. She was only worried that the news would reach Suzimo's side. Yunju glanced at the elder behind her and said, "The space around the Blue Blood Mountain has been sealed. Even if a king wants to take them away, he can't do it." The elder could hear the complaint in Yunju's voice. He bowed slightly and said, "The king has instructed me to only protect your safety and not interfere with this matter. Once I take those 2 away, I will definitely become enemies with the Crimson Heaven Palace. With the strength of the Zhixian Celestial Kingdom, they can't compete with the Crimson Heaven Palace, which has imperial emperors. I hope you can understand." Yunju sighed softly and didn't say anything. In fact, she also understood her father's difficulties. In the past few years, the 9 Heavens Immortal Realm had changed a lot. The situation was chaotic, and the various immortal realms had changed owners. Several imperial emperors had also submitted to Immortal Emperor Qianmu. Of course, there were also imperial emperors who refused to submit. For example, Immortal Emperor Qing Shao of the Green Firmament Immortal Realm was unwilling to submit. He had a conflict with Immortal Emperor Chunmu and died. Even the Green Firmament Palace was completely destroyed. The current Green Firmament Immortal Realm was in chaos, and the flames of war were everywhere. The other immortal realms were also in a state of unrest. Everyone was worried about their own safety. In this chaotic situation, it was unknown whether the Zhixian Celestial Kingdom could survive. Immortal King Zhixian didn't want to complicate matters, and he couldn't afford to offend the Crimson Heaven Palace. Although Yunju had already brought people to the Crimson Heaven Immortal Realm, her cultivation was only at the true Spirit Realm. Under the heavy encirclement of the Crimson Heaven Palace, she couldn't escape with Ning and Yunju. Thinking of this, Yunju really admired Ning's Taoist companion. When she thought of the black-robed man's true form, she couldn't help but feel a trace of fear. The black-robed man called Night Spirit was too strong. Although he was only at the true spirit realm, his killing methods were unprecedented and could be said to be terrifying. That kind of creature should be the legendary god Ho. And this Night Spirit seemed to be much stronger and more terrifying than an ordinary god Ho. Every part of his body was a killing weapon. Yunju had even seen with her own eyes that Night Spirit had crossed a great realm and killed a Grotto Heaven king. Although it was only an ordinary immortal king, and he himself was severely injured. Along the way, the number of Crimson Heaven Palace cultivators who died at the hands of Night Spirit had reached hundreds. Among them were more than a dozen true Spirit Realm cultivators and a Grotto Heaven king. If it weren't for Night Spirit, Ning and Yunju would have been captured by the Crimson Heaven Palace army. Of course, during this period, Yunju had also used her means to deceive everyone, allowing Ning and Yunju to escape several times. But she could only support them in secret, and there was a limit to what she could do. Lu Ping said, "So many people from the Crimson Heaven Palace have died. I heard that the Emperor was so angry that the Crimson Heaven Palace sent out all their forces. There are 300 Grotto Heaven Kings alone. Now they are all gathered around the Bloodshed Mountain range. Even mosquitoes can't fly out, let alone 2 living people." Yunju was silent. She also knew that as time passed, the space between Ning and Night Spirit would become smaller and smaller. They would definitely be discovered. Only Emperor Araki Takashi would be able to break the situation. Even if Suzumo's Qinglian came in person, it would be impossible. Chapter 3101 Qingshao Immortal Domain Warring States. Lin Zhan sat in the middle of the great hall. His expression was heavy, and his eyes shone brightly as he stared at the 20 celestial kings seated below. Immortal King Ling Long sat beside him with a worried look on her face. After obtaining the yin-yang talisman scripture, not only did Lin Zhan recover from his injuries, but he also improved further and became a quasi-emperor. As for Immortal King Ling Long, she had obtained the inheritance of the 9 heaven Xian Nu Grand Monarch and the yin-yang talisman scripture. Her comprehension of the scripture was deeper, and her cultivation level was higher. Now, she had already cultivated to the peak of the Grotto Heaven realm. As Lin Zhan recovered from his injuries and recovered to his peak, he gradually stabilized the situation of the War Kingdom. More and more immortal kings took the initiative to join the War Kingdom. Although they had yet to recover to their peak, the number of immortal kings in the Warring States Kingdom had already exceeded 20. However, the situation in the Azure Firmament Celestial Realm had become chaotic due to the great changes in the 9 Firmament Celestial Realm. Until the death of Qing Shao, Immortal Emperor, the peace in the Qing Shao Immortal Realm was completely broken. In the face of Immortal Emperor Chan Mu's coercion, many forces in the Green Firmament Immortal Realm chose to submit to him, except for Sengoku. Under such circumstances, the Warring States Kingdom inevitably became the target of public criticism and was in imminent danger. Even the interior of the Warring States began to fall apart. War King, the situation is becoming clearer. The entire 9 Clouds celestial region will be under Immortal Emperor Chan Mu's command. From now on, there will be no 9 clouds, only the celestial region. Flying Sand Immortal King said in a deep voice, "Even the immortal emperors of the other immortal domains have successively bowed their heads. I don't understand. Why do you still insist?" "Not bad." Immortal King Inu added, "The 9 firmaments immortal realm is bound to be united. Only by unifying the continent of the 9 clouds can we compete with the Pure Land of Bliss and the Demon region." Lifeng Immortal King said, "Immortal Emperor Chan Mu entered the Imperial Tomb and survived. He's the only one who has the strength to fight against the Pure Land's Lord of 6 Brahma Heaven and the Demon Realm's World Devastator Devil Emperor." Lin Zhan said slowly, "I owe Immortal Emperor Qing Shao a great debt of gratitude. Now that he died in the hands of Immortal Emperor Chan Mu, I will never surrender." Back then, if it wasn't for Immortal Emperor Qing Shao, Lin Zhan and Fairy Ling Long wouldn't have been able to establish themselves in the Heaven Realm. It was also because of the support of Immortal Emperor Qing Shao that Lin Zhan was able to establish an immortal kingdom that protected the living beings of the lower realm in the Heaven Realm, which was surrounded by experts. If they didn't have Immortal Emperor Qing Zhao's support, Lin Zhan and his wife would have been ostracized, targeted, schemed against, and even besieged by countless beings from the upper realm. Their fates would not be any better than Feng Cantion's. With Immortal Emperor Qing Shao dead, how could Lin Zhan submit to Immortal Emperor Chan Mu? Flying Sand Immortal King coldly snorted and said, "War Monarch, your stubbornness will only implicate the millions of living beings in the Warring States Kingdom, causing them to suffer a calamity of extinction." Lin Zhan was clear in his heart. With his current combat strength, challenging Immortal Emperor Chan Mu was like throwing an egg against a rock. Lin Zhan spoke in a low voice, "For those who wish to leave the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm, I will naturally arrange a path of retreat for them. As for everyone here, everyone has their own aspirations. I won't force you." He had once discussed this matter with Immortal King Ling Long. In this situation, the Warring States can no longer be maintained. For them, there was only one way out, which was the Heaven Wasteland sect of the Demon Domain. Although the Heaven Wasteland sect was situated in a corner, it had not encountered any calamities over the years. Moreover, the Devil area had the World Devastation Devil Emperor overseeing it. So Immortal Emperor Chan Mu didn't dare to rashly step in. "Lin Zhan, you can't leave." At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the main hall. Immediately after, a series of powerful auras surged over. Lin Zhan stood up and scanned with his divine sense. There were at least 200 immortal kings around the main hall. Among them, there were a few extremely powerful auras. They were obviously boundary emperors. There was also one more. At this moment, a man in a yellow robe walked into the main hall. An extremely powerful aura descended and enveloped everyone in the main hall. Immortal Emperor, it's you. Lin Zhan's gaze landed on this person, and he narrowed his eyes slightly. In the past, this immortal Emperor Luo Feng had once lost a battle with immortal Emperor Qing Shao. He had fled, and no one knew where he went. Unexpectedly, not long after immortal Emperor Qing Shao died, immortal Emperor Luo Feng appeared again and was now a peerless immortal emperor. It seems like you have already submitted to immortal Emperor Qinmu? Lin Zhan asked. There is no immortal Emperor Qinmu now. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng cupped his hands slightly and said respectfully with a respectful expression, there is only the 9 firmament immortal emperor now. In the future, Master will even go one step further and create an era, becoming the 9 firmament immortal emperor. We will follow in Master's footsteps and conquer the world for him. We will also be recorded in the annals of history and shine for eternity. At this point, immortal Emperor Luofeng's tone also became a little excited. There was even a hint of undetectable fanaticism in his eyes. Immortal King Ling Long secretly cast a spell into the surrounding void. However, it was like a stone ox entering the sea. It didn't cause any ripples. The surrounding space has been sealed. Immortal King Ling Long secretly frowned and transmitted a message with her divine sense. Don't waste your energy. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng seemed to have noticed Immortal King Ling Long's actions. He smiled slightly and said, the surrounding space has been completely sealed. Today, no one in this main hall can leave. Greetings, Immortal Emperor Luo Feng. Immortal King Flying Sand hurriedly stood out and bowed to Immortal Emperor Luo Feng. He smiled fawningly and said, I'm Flying Sand. I have long had the intention to surrender. I was just persuading Lin Zhan to surrender, but he was too stubborn. Very good. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng nodded and said, a fine bird chooses a fine tree to nest in. Those who surrender will not be killed. After he said this, Immortal King Yin Yu and Immortal King Lai Feng looked at each other and also stood up to express their intention to surrender. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the 20-plus Immortal Kings under Zhangjiu stood on Immortal Emperor Luofeng's side. Other than Lin Zhan and his wife, Lin Lei, and Lin Luo, there were still 5 Immortal Kings who didn't express their stance. And these 5 Immortal Kings all came from the lower realm. It was because Zhangjiu took them in that they had a place to stay. They were indebted to Lin Zhan for recognizing their worth and even saving their lives. Their feelings towards Zhangjiu were completely different from others. Lin Zhan looked at Immortal Emperor Luo Feng and took a deep breath. He said slowly, Immortal Emperor Luo Feng, today, I, Lin Zhan, will die. I have nothing to say. I only hope that you can give them a way out. I've said it before. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng smiled faintly and said, as long as you lead them obediently and submit to the 9 firmament Immortal Emperor, I'll give you a chance. Death or life, you choose for yourself. Lin Zhan gritted his teeth, his face expressionless. If he was alone, he would naturally fight to the death and never submit. However, behind him were Immortal King Ling Long, Lin Lei, and Lin Luo. There were also 5 Immortal Kings who had followed him for many years. No matter what choice you make, I'll accompany you. At this moment, Immortal King Ling Long suddenly reached out and held Lin Zhan's large hand. Father, Lin Lei said loudly, we're a family. If we want to fight, we'll fight together. Even if we die, we'll have no regrets. Lin Luo also stood beside Immortal King Ling Long. She didn't say a word, her expression resolute. Warlord, give the order. The Immortal Kings from the lower realm also stood up. He, Immortal Emperor Luo Feng laughed with a pitiful expression. He shook his head and sighed. So, you're all seeking your own deaths? So what if we are? A voice sounded in the hall. Then don't blame. Immortal Emperor Luofeng's face was filled with killing intent. Just as he was about to attack, he suddenly frowned as he sensed that something was wrong. The sentence, "So what if we are," was not said by Lin Zhan. Unknowingly, there was another person in the hall. Chapter 3102. Everyone in the hall looked in the direction of the voice. Everyone, including Lin Zhan and his wife, Lin Lei, and Lin Luo, were stunned. They turned around and looked over. At some point in time, a black-haired, purple-robed man wearing a silver mask had appeared behind Lin Zhan and the other three. No one in the hall knew how this person had broken through the spatial seal of the immortal kings and arrived here. Lin Zhan's eyes lit up when he saw who it was. He was excited and subconsciously said, "Z, ahem." Immortal King Ling Long coughed softly. At the same time, she stretched out her finger and quickly poked Lin Zhan's waist. She smiled and asked, "Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi?" The moment she saw Wu Dao's true body appear, Fairy Ling Long knew that the crisis of the Sengoku Kingdom had been resolved. No wonder she had predicted the fate of the Sengoku Kingdom several times previously. She had always seen the light at the end of the tunnel. It was also because of this that she didn't arrange too many backup plans, resulting in the current situation. However, she couldn't deduce who could help the Sengoku Kingdom survive this calamity. It turned out that it was Araki Takashi. Araki Takashi? Upon hearing this Taoist name, everyone in the main hall was shocked and their expressions changed. The Battle of the Grand Desolate World, the end of the battle between the dragons, phoenixes, and Kuan Pong, the destruction of the witch race, the death of the Blood Realm and the Poison Realm, and the heavy losses of the two realms. A series of news spread. Who in the 3,000 realms didn't know the name of Araki Takashi? Lin Lei and Lin Luo were also shocked when they saw Wu Dao's true body. Speaking of which, Lin Lei and Lin Luo had been lucky enough to see Araki Takashi in action in Langfeng City in the Jinmu mountain range. At that time, Araki Takashi was still called the Demon Realm's Great Demon. When they were in Langfeng City, Lin Lei felt that the gap between him and Araki Takashi wasn't too big. He even regarded him as his greatest opponent. By the time they fought in the Jinmu mountain range, the gap between the two of them had already become extremely wide. When Lin Lei heard about the Battle of the Great Wilderness, he even suspected that Emperor Araki Takashi and Araki Takashi of the Demon Realm were the same person. Until now, the gazes of Emperor Luo Feng and the other experts flickered as they gazed at Wu Dao's main body, and they revealed surprised and bewildered expressions. The name of Araki Takashi had spread throughout the 3,000 realms. However, not many people had actually seen Emperor Araki Takashi. No one had ever seen Araki Takashi's true appearance. If it was really Emperor Araki Takashi, they wouldn't hesitate to kowtow to him. But if not, Emperor Araki Takashi wore a silver mask all year round. It was really hard to say whether this was the true body of Emperor Araki Takashi. Moreover, what kind of status did Emperor Araki Takashi have? Why would he suddenly come to the Heaven Realm's green firmament immortal domain and get involved in such a trivial matter? Immortal Emperor Luo Feng narrowed his eyes and observed every move of Wu Dao's main body. He wanted to find a flaw. It was rumored that Fairy Ling Long was unparalleled in wisdom and intelligence. She found someone to impersonate Emperor Araki Takashi in order to scare them away and survive this calamity. It was very possible. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng didn't say a word. He decided to bide his time and wait and see. Haha. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Zhan laughed loudly and went forward. He grabbed Emperor Araki Takashi's shoulders and shook it forcefully. He said loudly, "Brother Araki Takashi, you're here." Everyone in the hall was dumbfounded. Even Lin Lei subconsciously opened his mouth wide with a puzzled expression. Father is so familiar with Emperor Araki Takashi? Lin Lei subconsciously looked at immortal King Ling Long and guessed a possibility. He thought to himself, Mother's method, isn't it too fake? When Lin Zhan first saw Emperor Araki Takashi, he had blurted out a word. Then, he was interrupted by immortal King Ling Long. Lin Luo saw this detail. Father's reaction at that time didn't seem to be an act. It was as if he really knew Emperor Araki Takashi. What? Lin Luo frowned slightly. She looked at Wu Dao's main body, then looked at Lin Zhan and immortal King Ling Long thoughtfully. Seeing this scene, immortal Emperor Luo Feng finally relaxed. He snorted and couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is what they mean by, even a wise man will make a mistake. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng sneered and said, Immortal King Ling Long, you put in so much effort to find someone to pretend to be Emperor Araki Takashi to scare us. But you didn't expect Lin Zhan to be so good at acting. The other immortal kings gradually came to their senses and laughed mockingly. You're just a sub-thearch, yet you call Emperor Araki Takashi your brother. Are you worthy? I've been in the Warring States period for many years, but I've never heard of Lin Zhan having any relationship with Emperor Araki Takashi. You don't say. If we don't pay attention, we'll be easily fooled by him. Everyone, take a look. He's wearing a purple robe and a silver mask. He really looks like it. The problem is, who knows what Emperor Araki Takashi looks like? If I change into a purple robe and wear a lousy mask, I'll still be Araki Takashi. Haha. Lin Zhan and Immortal King Ling Long didn't care at all when they heard everyone's mockery. They seemed to be laughing even more happily. Lin Lei thought that Immortal King Ling Long's scheme had been seen through. His face flushed red when he heard that. You guys are too noisy. Wu Dao's main body suddenly spoke. The mocking laughter in the hall suddenly stopped. Then, an even louder laughter erupted. Ha 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 ha. So, Lin Zhan, Ling Long, where did you find this person? Why is he addicted to acting? Wu Dao's main body didn't look directly at them. He only slowly raised his arm, opened his palm, and gently clenched it in the direction of the crowd. Poochie. Blood mist spewed out. The pungent smell of fresh blood instantly filled the hall. In an instant, the bodies of the dozens of immortal kings who were laughing the loudest just now exploded, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Their primordial spirits were destroyed, and their bodies and Dao disappeared. Among them, 2 sub-thearchs weren't spared either. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. The hall was completely silent. Moreover, for a long time, there was no sound at all. Even the sound of breathing had disappeared without a trace. The group of immortal kings who were still alive stood on the spot. Warm blood splattered on their faces, but they didn't dare to move. Their bodies were stiff, and their eyes were filled with endless fear. What kind of power was this? Dozens of immortal kings were like ants in the hands of that person. With a clench of his fist, all of them died. Even immortal Emperor Luo Feng was scared silly. His eyes widened, and his expression was one of shock. With his cultivation level, he had the ability to kill dozens of immortal kings, but he definitely couldn't do it so easily. This kind of power had even exceeded his understanding. Could it be that this person is really his? When immortal Emperor Luo Feng thought of this possibility, all the hair on his body stood on end. He felt his scalp go numb, and his legs went weak. I'm under the orders of the 9 heavens immortal emperor. You. Immortal Emperor Luo Feng took a deep breath and mustered his courage. His voice trembled slightly as he wanted to use the 9 heavens immortal emperor to stabilize the situation. Oh. Wu Dao's main body glanced at him and said, I forgot to kill you. He flicked his finger. A ray of light descended. Immortal Emperor Luofeng's pupils constricted, and he hurriedly propped up a world. This ray of light descended from the sky and instantly broke his world. His body was cut in half, and his primordial spirit was also directly wiped out. Everyone looked at this scene in horror. A peerless immortal emperor was actually killed by this person with a flick of his finger. End of this chapter. Chapter 3103. Celestial Emperor Araki Takashi. These were the only words left in the minds of everyone in the main hall. In the world, only Celestial Emperor Araki Takashi had such means. Plop, plop. The immortal kings who were still arrogant just now knelt on the ground with terrified expressions. They lay on the ground and trembled. Greetings, greetings, Celestial Emperor Araki Takashi. Please forgive us, Celestial Emperor Araki Takashi. We were blind. We didn't want to be enemies with the War Kingdom at all. We were all ordered by Immortal Emperor Luo Feng and were forced to come. Immortal King Flying Sand smiled as if he was trying to curry favor with her. Immortal King Ling Long, Flying Sand, was originally from the War Kingdom. I was just blinded by greed just now. I'm willing to return to the War Kingdom. You're not worthy. Immortal King Ling Long interrupted him with a cold gaze. What should we do with these people? Wu Dao looked at Lin Zhan and his wife and asked. When the immortal kings kneeling on the ground heard this, they immediately became nervous. Their foreheads were covered in sweat, and their hearts were in their throats. Their lives were in the hands of Lin Zhan and his wife. After an unknown period of time, let them go. Lin Zhan's voice sounded. They're just puppets who are helping the devil. All of the immortal kings relaxed. However, they still knelt on the ground obediently and didn't dare to get up. That person didn't say anything. Who dared to move? Let's go, Wu Dao said calmly. The immortal kings felt as if they had been pardoned. After thanking him, they fled and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Looking at the empty main hall, Lin Lei gradually realized that his father Lin Zhan really knew Celestial Emperor Akitakashi. Moreover, their relationship was not shallow. At the same time, another doubt in Lin Lei's heart was quietly solved. No wonder that day in Langfeng City, in order to save his Dao child, Araki Takashi seemed to have deliberately avoided him and his sister and didn't hurt them at all. It turned out that Araki Takashi knew his father and mother long ago. Why did you think of returning to the Heaven Realm? Immortal King Linglong asked. Wu Dao's main body said, Little Ning and Night Spirit ran into some trouble. It's a good opportunity to settle some grudges. After the Nine Heavens Convention, when Su Zimo arrived at the War Kingdom, he had chatted with the Lin Zhan couple about Tianhuang Mainland and mentioned Night Spirit and Xiaoning. At that time, he had asked Lin Zhan and his wife to look for Ning. Where are they? Lin Zhan asked. Wu Dao's true body said, The Crimson Heavens Immortal Region is being hunted by the Crimson Heavens Palace. Immortal King Ling Long smiled and said, If you show up, that immortal Emperor Dan Shao will probably be scared half to death. Wu Dao shook his head and said, I have to find someone else? Who? Lin Zhan and his wife could tell that Wu Dao's tone was a little serious. They couldn't help but be curious. Who exactly was this person that could make Araki Takashi pay so much attention to? Immortal Emperor Chanmu. Wu Dao's main body said slowly. It's him. Lin Zhan and his wife looked at each other. They could see the surprise in each other's eyes. All these years, Immortal Emperor Chunmu had been bold and decisive. He had used thunderous methods to unify the nine clouds and formed a balance of forces in the heaven domain. Immortal Emperor Chunmu, who had come back from the dead, was naturally very strong. However, Lin Zhan and his wife didn't expect him to be so strong that even Araki Takashi was so cautious. You go and meet him. Leave the Crimson Heavens Immortal Region to us, Lin Zhan said in a low voice. Wu Dao's main body nodded. He turned around and stepped into the void, disappearing. Lin Lei, Lin Luo, gather people and head to the Crimson Heavens Immortal Region. Prepare for a big battle. Lin Zhan's eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he said loudly, Crimson Heavens Immortal Region. Blue Blood Mountain Range. Most of the mountain ranges here were crimson red, as if they were dyed with blood. There were layers upon layers of mountains, steep mountains, and jagged rocks of strange shapes. Halfway up a mountain, there was a cave hidden under vines. There were two people inside, a man and a woman. The man was wearing a tight-fitting black shirt. He was expressionless and had a cold expression. Only when he looked at the woman would his expression become much gentler. The woman was wearing a white alchemist robe. She looked gentle and was carefully refining a type of pill. She was focused. After a while, a few immortal pills flew out of the cauldron, emitting waves of fragrance. The woman looked at the patterns on the pills and nodded in satisfaction. Then, she passed it to the man in black and said, Here, eat it. The man in black reached out and took it. It might be a little bitter, the woman reminded him again. The man in black swallowed it without hesitation. He shook his head and said, It's not bitter. The woman pursed her lips into a smile and said, With these immortal pills, your injuries should be healed very quickly. Our chances of escaping have increased by a fraction. The man in black nodded. He started to circulate his bloodline and closed his eyes to heal his injuries. Back then, after leaving the Celestial Tribute World's evil demon battlefield, He had been to countless realms and didn't cultivate much. He was running around just to find the woman beside him. Otherwise, with his innate bloodline, he would have most likely stepped into the grotto heaven realm by now. All these years, he had experienced countless dangers along the way. Thankfully, he had finally found her in the heaven realm. Once I step into the grotto heaven realm, we will definitely be able to escape. The man in black thought to himself, Su Xiaoning, night spirit, the two of you won't be able to escape. Right then, a cold voice sounded from outside. The woman in the cave shuddered. The man in black opened his eyes as well. They were Night Spirit and Su Xiaoning, who were hiding in the Blood Jade mountain range. Night Spirit could clearly sense that more and more experts were gathering around this mountain, forming an encirclement. They couldn't hide anymore. Night Spirit stood up slowly. He hid in the darkness of the cave like a ghost in the night. Xiaoning stood up with him with a worried expression. Boom! Night Spirit waved his hand and broke through the cover in front of the cave. The two of them walked out. More than 100 immortal kings had already gathered around the mountain. More and more immortal kings, perfected immortals, and other experts were rushing over, setting up an inescapable trap. In front of the two of them, a blue-robed man stood in the air with his hands behind his back. His expression was cold as he looked down at the two of them in front of the cave. The son of Immortal Emperor Crimson Heaven, Immortal King Stone K. Su Xiaoning, you disappoint me too much. Immortal King Stone K said coldly, you would rather follow this beast to the ends of the world than become my concubine. Su Xiaoning said in a deep voice, we have already pledged our lives to each other in the lower realm. I hope Immortal King Stone K can fulfill our wish. Ha! Immortal King Stone K sneered and said, pledged our lives to each other in the lower realm? You also know that you were born in the lower realm? As the Emperor's son, I wanted to take you in as my concubine to give you a chance to get rid of your lowly status. Unfortunately, you don't know what's good for you. Su Xiaoning, don't forget that if Crimson Heaven Palace hadn't taken you in back then, you would be nothing. You would be a lowly servant who wouldn't have lived to this day. That might not be the case. At this moment, a woman's voice sounded not far away. It was neither soft nor heavy, but it was sonorous and powerful. If Crimson Heaven Palace hadn't taken her in, there would have been Zishuan Immortal Kingdom. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.